Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to our live summit, our Biblical Finance Summit. We have a wonderful power packed program in store for each and every one of you today. I just want to lay a couple of ground rules. I know, let us know in the chat. This is going to be the favorite place for us today. So if you are on your mobile device, your phone, laptop, or something along those lines, generally it's right below this video, you will find the chat box. And so just put your name, let us know where you're from, where you're watching from. If you want us to bring a little comment on the screen, just type it in and we'll be able to bring you on. Secondarily, if for some reason we have some tech issues, right above this video should be a red or green button that says reconnect. All you have to do is reconnect. Our signal strength is good here. So if you're on Wi-Fi, chances are it's going to be on your side. So from time to time, we're going to give a little shout out as we can. If you also have any questions based on what each presenter will cover, put it in the chat as well. And if we have time, we'll be able to get the presenter to answer some of your questions. You can also feel free to email chance@strategicsecrets.com. Alrighty, let me just say a few welcomes to those who are on so far. So we have Josh, Leonie, Josephine, Laura, Janet, Martha, David, Sandra, Grethel. Dr. Pascal is on early already. Good to have you here, Jeffrey. And so, yeah, let us know from where you're watching. We share this in different places, so just type in where you are watching from so we know where you are from. For those of you who are new, and if you've never met me before, my name is Chance. I'm a pastor of the All Nations and Far Assembly Adventist Church in South Texas. So I am live right now in South Texas. I'll try to put that in the chat. And so I would like to know where you are watching, from where you are watching. We've been having a financial series, a workshop. Josephine is from San Antonio. Good. Jeffrey from California. Okay. Wonderful. So we've been having this series on different aspects of our life. We started out 2020 talking about our spiritual health and well-being. Then we went into a 5-week workshop on mental and emotional health. After we finished that, then we now went into finances. And so we did a 3-part series so far with myself and one of the presenters here, Elder Philip Westerman. He will be introducing himself and the slides in just a moment. And so this is our culminating experience. So this summit today, or webinar, whatever you may want to call it, is going to be 4 hours. So I know that you might have things going on here and there. So each speaker is covering something specific. So if you want to go back again, we let you know, of course, the topics. But if you want to go back and look at your registration or the page that you signed in, you saw several different things. So each presenter will be covering something different. So have no fear, have no worries. We'll introduce you to them as we go along. So again, my name is Chance, U.S. Navy veteran. I'm an author and I'm also a minister. Elder Philip Westerman is an elder at one of the churches that we work with here, the All Nations Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so he's been in finance for a while. He will explain what he does and his background in that. And we have Mr. Don Daniel, famous author of The Pill Method. And I'm telling you, that really will revolutionize your financial life. That book really opened my eyes. I thought I understood how loans and credits and finance really work, but I think that book was the best book that I've ever encountered that had me really clear on how these things actually work. So you will be duly blessed on that. And so then Dr. Pascal, Jeffrey Pascal, he will come on after Don Daniel, and he will be talking about real estate. And of course, we have different perspective. There's a reason for that as well. We have different topics and different perspective because there is balance. In the multitude of counselors, there's safety, and some things resonate with others and some may not. So it's all good. So whatever you can take today, I'm sure it's going to help you. Dr. Pascal, he is a young fellow. Actually, he's a millennial, younger than myself. And so, but nonetheless, he is a go-getter. As you can see, he's a dentist. He is in a very specialized field where most people of his background, it's only a handful of these people that train in this particular specialty. But he is in real estate investing as well. So he will teach us. So again, no matter what age you are, we can learn something there. And then we will come back in the last hour and we will close it out together, sharing with you how you can be able to take your gifts, your talents, your expertise, education, experiences that God has given to you, and how you can leverage those into products, programs, and services online. You will see some of the presenters when they share. I will make reference back to those things so you can see this is how this can be applied into your life. So, without further ado, again, welcome to our Biblical Finance Summit. If you do have any question, please post in the chat right here. Again, let us know where you're watching from. Introduce yourself. Don't be shy. We are one family here. So without further ado, I'm going to give to you now Mr. Philip Westerman. Philip, take it over.
All right. Hello. Glad to be here. Thank you, Pastor Chance. Just wanted to tell you a brief bio of myself. A long time ago, after being an assistant pastor at the Battle Creek Tabernacle in Michigan, I became a financial services coach or counselor. So for 20 years, I was teaching people basic financial principles to help them eradicate or eliminate their debt forever and stay out of debt, and then also help them invest into great investments that were good for them long term, as well as short term investments. I'm going to teach you those principles here today too. So be ready, because as we begin, there's going to be a lot of information, some that many of you may already know, some basics, but then other is going to be very detailed. So have a pen and piece of paper or a notebook and be ready to learn. Here, we're going to call these kingdom principles for financial management. These management principles can change your life drastically forever if they're followed. That's the importance, because you don't want to roll the dice on finances and just say, oh, that sounds good, let's do that. You know the old adage that says, if it sounds too good to be true, then it's not a good investment, most likely. So be aware. Make sure that what you are looking at is a good, solid style of investing for you. Should I buy? Should I sell? When should I buy and sell? What should I buy and sell? How should I buy and sell? And those principles here is what we're going to be just talking about. What should we invest in that will give the greatest possible return and glorify God? Really, your number one thought should be not, I want to make a lot of money. I know that's what most of us think about. That's good. It's okay. It's blessed to make a lot of money if you do it righteously. So we want to make sure we glorify God in all that we do. With your beliefs, you don't have to compromise your beliefs and become wealthy. So we want to keep those beliefs intact as we learn. What about stocks? You know, the stocks are investments that go up and down drastically because it's maybe one company. A stock is a company. They got it from the old exchange of cattle. Cattle were called livestock and sheep. And so they would trade certain cattle for other types of livestock. That's why it was called stock way back in the day, a few hundred years ago. Then when they opened the stock market, they started investing and trading to specific companies. And so when you are investing into stocks, you are literally investing into a particular company. What happens, though, when you invest into these companies, into one company? I want to see here. What happens when you put all of your eggs in one basket? Here, the eggs is your money. Let's say it's $10,000 or $100 or $1 million. And you put all of those eggs, your money, your hard-earned money, into one nest. What will happen if that nest breaks and falls? What happens to all of your eggs? So we want to consider how mutual funds work, because this is a different type of investing. Mutual funds have some positive things to them. They're professionally money managed. So it's not just managed by somebody who thinks that that might be a good investment, but somebody who's been doing this for years of experience and looking at the market, understanding all of the different stocks and bonds and EROT funds. Low cost when it comes to investing into mutual funds. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Some mutual funds are free. Diversification. Diversification, we'll be talking about that in a moment. And low minimum investments. You can invest in some funds as little as $25 a month. So if you think, well, I don't have a lot of money to be able to make money in the market, you're wrong. You can do it with as little as $25 a month or a large lump sum of maybe $2,500. And they're flexible. So depending on how you invest in the mutual funds, you can put money in or take money out, depending on where it is. And we'll talk about that too. But they'll also be able to move them from one mutual fund to another without particular money management fees. Whereas stocks, every time you make a purchase or you make a withdrawal or you move it, it is going to cost you to do that. So here are the basic principles of financial management and investing money. We take a look at Ecclesiastes 11, 1 through 6. To diversify, calculate your risks so you're not just throwing caution to the wind, but investing into good ground. It states this: cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. Give a serving to 7 and also to 8, for you do not know what evil will be on the earth. So it's not saying just cast it over into the wind or cast it in the air, but put it in a specific place on the waters and put it in various locations. Do you see the diversification there? If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves upon the earth. And if a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it shall lie. Pretty simple. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. What does that mean? Somebody who's just looking up into the clouds and dreaming, the daydreamers, or someone who's just watching the trees grow. You can't become financially strong by watching the clouds or watching the trees grow. You must do something. You must decide to do something and cast your bread upon the waters, as you do not know what is the way of the wind, or how the bones grow in the womb, or her, or who was with child. So you do not know the works of God who makes everything. In the morning, sow your seed, and in the evening do not withhold your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, either this or that, or whether both alike will be good. You don't know what's going to prosper. And basically what it's saying is diversify your investments. Do not put all of your eggs in one basket. And the best way to do that is with mutual funds that are diversified. So by diversifying into mutual funds, I like to look at it this way. See all of these nuts and fruits and grains? It's a basket of different baskets. So inside of each one of these, you may have different companies, like an industry in one section. You might have the soda industry. So you have Coca-Cola and Pepsi and 7-Up, and then all of the new sodas that are on the market and the sparkling waters. That's all in one industry. Then you might have the entertainment industry with all of the different entertainments that they're investing into. Then you'll invest, the mutual fund does this for you, invest into another industry. So it might be an investing into travel, or it might then in another industry be in transportation. So it would be in transportation under trains or under airplanes or under things like Uber or other things like that, but it's diversified into all of these different industries, and then including, depending on your mutual fund, bonds. Bonds are a security that are backed by money, government bonds or hospital bonds, or even company bonds that have those. So they back them based on securities with other wealth preservations. If you are investing your little $25 a month or your $5,000 a month into a diversified array of mutual funds, what's the likelihood of every single one of those going belly up in the same day or the same hour? It's highly unlikely. In fact, really, it works like this. If you have mutual funds that are invested in stocks and bonds, normally what happens is when the stocks are up, the bonds are down. When the bonds are up, the stocks are down. Right now, Bonds are the ones that are up when everybody's stocks are down because of the COVID. But I know people will tell me, I lost so much money in the market. My question always back to them is, did you? Did you really lose money in the market, or did the price per share go down? The only way to lose money in a market that takes a dive, like it has recently, is to pull your money out, to sell your shares, to sell your units in your mutual fund when they're low. That's the only way to lose money. This is an absolutely great market right now to invest. In fact, probably never a time in the history, in our lifetime, has there been a better time to invest. Right now, why? Because the market's low. You could almost throw a dart at anything, invest it as long as you're willing to hang tight in there, as long as you're willing to wait for that market to come back out. A lot of people right now are investing into penny stocks. On a daily basis, they're watching the market. They'll buy when it's low, bam, it goes high. They'll sell, they'll hold it, something goes low, they'll buy, they'll sell it when it's high. And that's really the adage that you need to buy low and sell high if you're going to play that game. If you don't have time to play that game and you're busy right now, you've got kids, you're married, you're working, and you don't have time to play the money game, then simply invest into a diversified mutual fund. That's the easiest way. Invest a lump sum and then what we'd call systematic investing. That means on a monthly basis, continually to invest into that mutual fund. Do you see the diversification here on the structure of this mutual fund? You have some domestic stocks, 35%, some international stocks, which are a little aggressive because we don't know, and money markets, which are close to bonds. They're all very secured. In a money market, you will earn pace with inflation. So if you put in $1 today, whatever inflation is tomorrow, that's what the money will earn it. Bonds and tax-exempt funds and high-yielding bonds and intermediate bonds. This looks to me right here to be a balanced mutual fund, about 50-50. And so when should I invest into what is a question that you might want to ask you. Well, you have to ask what am I investing for? Is this my retirement fund? If this is my retirement fund, then you have to ask yourself, when am I going to take the money out? Because in order to know the ups and downs in the markets or to ride those waves of the ups and downs in the market, we need time. If you don't have a lot of time, then an aggressive mutual fund is not the way to go. What's an aggressive mutual fund? It's a mutual fund mostly compiled of stocks and has very little bonds, if any at all. So it's a stock mutual fund. That's an aggressive mutual fund. And a growth mutual fund has about 70% stock. And you're not going to see it here, so write it down. 70% stock on average and 30% bonds. That's a growth style. Not as aggressive, but it is growth. So if you've got a long time to wait, those are good investments to put your mutual fund money into. Growth and aggressive growth. On average, and keep this in mind for something I'm going to tell you in a moment, on average, growth and aggressive growth over years of investing earns 12%, somewhere between 10 and 14. So we're just going to say 12% on average. Now, as you're getting closer to that time of withdrawal, let's say this still is a retirement plan, and you're 50 years old and you're going to retire at 65. So you only got 15 years left. You don't have a long 40 years time span to play the market. Then you want to move that growth investment into a balanced mutual fund like the one you see here on your screen. That means it's about 50% stocks, 50% bonds. And then guess what? The next 5 years, you're going to move it into less than a balanced fund, more of a conservative investment. And then 5 years before you retire, stop messing around and put that money either into guaranteed investments or keep it in a very conservative investment, which means 90% bonds and only 10% in the stocks. Does that make sense? Write down some questions I'm going to ask you when we get done with this section, if you have any, and we'll talk about those. So you can see here the different styles of investing, the different conservative, balanced, moderate growth, aggressive growth. You see how the difference is between the investments of of stocks and bonds. But remember, you don't have to worry about this. You pick a good mutual fund or mutual fund company, and that financial advisor then will help you along that way of investing into the right, depending on where you are. Now, let's say you've got some money, but you know you're going to need it, maybe for emergencies, or you're going to need it in the next year or 18 months, but you don't want to stick it into your bank account. Checking account is the worst because how much money do you make on your checking account? Almost zero, right? Some people make 1 or 2%, rarely. So, or a savings account, you say, but a savings account, you'll make less than 1%. So, money market, remember that. So, you go to your community bank or your bank and ask them, do you have a free money market account? Some, you can even attach some checks to it that are free. Free money market account, remember what it does, it will pay you just enough to keep pace with inflation. So if inflation is 2%, it'll pay you that 2% for the year, so you'll continue to earn that. If it drops down, then so does that, but it keeps pace with inflation. So short term, long term, a little ways from now, you now have the understanding of how to invest. Now, what should I invest into? Maybe you have some questions about retirement plans. When it comes to retirement plans, a 401k plan, make sure to look at that. In your 401k, 403b, IRA, or simple IRA, or things of that nature, you will have the opportunity to invest in mutual funds like this. Now you know, and you can look up, you'll see a little thing that just like this on your screen. You'll know what to pick, but depending on how long time you have to invest into that investment. If you have old 401k plan, maybe it's time to roll it over into something with a financial planner where they can continue to help you to move it the closer you get. You don't want a financial planner that's calling you up every week or even every year and saying, hey, let's move it, because there may be fees associated with that when you do that. You want someone who will watch it every 4 or 5 years when it might be time to move it, because you'll forget. And that's really the best thing for you to do. When you invest into a mutual fund and you set up that systematic monthly investment, forget about it. You shouldn't have to worry about it. You should be in a good, solid investment where there aren't any worries. Now, remember, I told you that you get an average rate of return on your growth and your aggressive growth investments of 12%. Why is that important? Or how much would you make a 10%? On average, 8 to 10% in a balanced mutual fund. And then in a conservative mutual fund, you may make 4 to 6% rate of return. And we're talking about long-term investing. So this is going to really blow your mind if you haven't heard of it before. It's called the Rule of 72. So essentially, you take that number, 72, you write it down, and then divide it by the average rate of return that you're getting. Now, how do you know what you're getting in an average rate of return? Well, what's your rate of return in your savings account? Like 1%. So if you're putting $100,000 away in your savings account at your bank, you get 1%. That means it takes you 72 years to double your money. 72 years. All the while, guess where the bank actually makes their money? Keeping your money there. They love you when you put that kind of money in a savings account, because that's where they get their rate of return. They're going to invest it and get 12% rate of return, and they're going to give you 1% rate of return. Take a look at this. I'm going to show you. Let's say you put it into that conservative investment and get 3%. This is just a lump sum, $10,000, okay? We take that 3%. You see it in the blue? $10,000, 3%. 3 goes into 72. How many times? How many times does 3 go into 72? 24. That means that $10,000 alone, leave it alone, it will double to $20,000 in 24 years. And then you leave it there again for another 24 years, and then it will double again to $40,000. Who has 48 years for their money to double? I don't think any of us do. So now you pull it into a balanced mutual fund. And in that balanced mutual fund, that 6 goes into 72 12 times. So that average rate of return is 6%. Put that into 72 every 12 years. That money's going to double. So that $10,000 will double to 20 and then to 40 and then 80 and then 160. $160,000 you can earn on 10,000 over 48 years. But what if you could earn 2.5 million in that same time frame with that same money? This is the gold with investing appropriately. Growth and aggressive growth. That $10,000 was invested at a growth or aggressive growth mutual fund every 6 years. Your money will compound. It will double. So that over that same 48 years, it goes to $2.5 million. Wouldn't it be great? And we'll talk about this at the end of my talk today. If you could inherit to every one of your grandchildren $10,000 in an account that they can't touch until they retire, they would all retire with around $2.5 million if invested wisely. Now, but you say, but the money went down. I invested $10,000, but immediately the market went down to $5,000. Remember what I told you. The market is going to do that. It's going to go up and down. That's how you make your money, because your financial person, the money manager who's handling the fund, is watching that. And if there's consistently, out of the 1,000 companies that you're invested to with your one mutual fund, a company that's continually doing poor or doing very badly, they're going to get rid of it and put in another one that's been researched that will continue to do well. Their job is to get companies out inside of those industries, in those baskets, and put the right ones in there. It's not ours to worry about. So that's just a lump sum investing. Now imagine kicking the butt of your investment up, up, up by investing systematically on top of that $10,000. Wow. Wow. I mean, you want to retire well and do great things with your money. This is the way to go. You know, I never believed that just because someone was wealthy that they gained it by doing something that was bad, because wise people are wealthy too. I remember some people in Bible, as you may have read about too, Abraham, Jacob, Job, Enoch even. These people were wealthy, not maybe with money, but with the things that they owned, that they gave a good inheritance to their children's children. Even Jerusalem was wealthy. God's temple was wealthy. We don't even know the effects of all the gold that was in that temple that actually provided wealth to the world once they were ransacked and that gold was taken out of the temple at Jerusalem. So investing without worry is really your number one goal, isn't it? Whenever the market is down, you know, I was telling you this, I hear people, but what did you do with the money? So remember, if you're investing long-term, do not take your money out because the market goes down. In fact, if there's anything you should do is get excited and put more money in. Unless you're in stocks, then there's a reason to get agitated because you don't know if that one company with all of your eggs, that basket is going to fall and break them all. This is why you need to diversify. Invest for eternity, and Matthew 6:20 is a great verse. Therefore, when you do a charitable deed, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogue and in the streets, that they might have glory for themselves. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. But when you do a charitable deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, that you and your charity deed may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret himself, he will reward you openly. Don't blow the trumpet or ring the bell at your office. You know, some of us might have bells or something, but at the office, but do good for others and do well for the company that you work for. You should work hard and do your best. And when God does something great for you and you give back by doing a charitable deed, let him reward you on his time, not you be puffed up with pride, because pride comes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall, says in Proverbs. So be wise as serpent, but harmless as doves. Be ye humble. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good. So all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. With the money that you make, I'm trying to prepare you that as you begin to invest wisely, as you get out of debt, as you become financially stable like you've never been before, that you will also systematically help your brothers in need, not just giving money away. Like you invested wisely, give wisely. Be scrupulous. Say, okay, this is a good place to invest my money. This is a good foundation. This is a church who really believes in the evangelism that I believe in, and give to those ministries that you firmly believe in. Think about this. What is your spiritual gift? Because it's not only money. There are things that you have. Maybe you don't have $100,000 to give right now, and you can only start investing, and you're only starting to get out of debt, but you have talents. God has given you purpose, and he's giving you a gift. And if you feel like you don't have one, start volunteering, and your gift, that spiritual gift that God has given to you, will start to rise to the top. And as you utilize that gift for him, he will give you more. This was given to you by God, this specific time for a specific purpose. But that spiritual gift now may be used throughout your life if you continue to use it. If you don't, then you'll lose it. But what's the difference between a spiritual gift and a talent? Well, a talent is something that you are pretty good at and continue to get better at the more you do with it. So a talent is something that you can acquire just by going out there and starting to learn. Maybe you'll be good at languages or art or music or something like that. But you know what? Those things precisely can also be given to you in a moment as a spiritual gift by the Holy Spirit. You know, people who sing beautifully and just uplift your soul and your heart. Those could be spiritual gifts that were given to them that they held on to. But a talent, you could also learn to sing very well or to do art very well. And a talent is something even maybe that you're doing at the office or where you work, your place of employment. You become very good at it. And what happens with that? The same thing with a spiritual gift. If you don't use it, you lose it. Let's just watch this, a short video on giving back and how you can change your community and your church and possibly your life. Pastor Chanch, can you load that?
Stewardship. A steward is defined as a manager, a treasurer, or one who takes care of the master's business until he returns. When we make the commitment to follow Christ, we become stewards in his kingdom, managers of the resources that God grants to us. Psalms 24:1 says, "The earth is the Lord's, and the faithfulness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein." When we understand that everything belongs to God and that we are appointed to manage his resources, ownership ends and stewardship begins. So what are we actually stewards of? God grants everyone different amounts of resources to use, but we all have the ability to use what we have to enhance the kingdom. There are things like our time, talents, our bodies, the gospel, opportunities, our finances, and much more. Imagine that you stored your resources in a bucket. At any time, you can add to and take away for various things. When you get paid or have a day off, you put those resources in your bucket. Perhaps you have to pay some bills or you want to buy someone lunch. Some will have to be taken out. Either way, there is a supply and demand. When we accept Jesus Christ into our lives, though, a new source comes into play. We no longer own the bucket. We no longer own the resources. We do, however, have access to them and decide how to use them. We are now stewards. Imagine all the amazing things we can do now. Think of all the people we could bless and all the ministries that could flourish. God's love could infiltrate every facet of our lives. Unfortunately, things don't always play out that way. We have a natural tendency to revert back to an ownership viewpoint over these resources that we're blessed with. The common misconception is, I earn this, I deserve this is mine. This mindset puts a lid on our bucket. We shut God out. This is the basis of poor stewardship. Now that's not to say that you can't still do great things with what you have, but you have removed God from the system and now have some resources being wasted. We aren't able to fully utilize all of God's blessings. We cannot serve two masters. On the contrary, however, when we remove the lid and submit fully to serving the Lord in every aspect of our lives, the dynamic of stewardship changes drastically. Our God is not a thief. These offerings, tithes, and sacrifices that we give to Him are going to be blessed and used in amazing ways to transform lives for the kingdom. He uses ordinary people to become extraordinary in a broken world that needs a foundation of love. By offering ourselves completely to His will, we allow the Holy Spirit to work transparently through us in a powerful way. Lives will be changed, miracles will happen, and ultimately broken people can learn that they are sons and daughters of a loving God. We will become great stewards. Our buckets will always be changing. In some cases, they will be empty. In others, they will overflow. In all cases, God will use us to do incredible things. Stewardship is a choice. Let's choose God.
Wouldn't it be amazing if you could be one of the pillars of your organization where you are in helping people all over your community because you were financially stable? I believe it's amazing for everybody. Everybody, I believe, should be there. And if you're here and you're listening to this, that means you do have a desire for financial stability. And so I look forward to each of you being financial stable. Okay. Now, investing in the light of the end times, where should you put your money? Investing in the Kingdom Project Enterprises, heaven's stock market, so to speak. You know, there's not a hearse with a luggage rack, and so you can't take those things with you to heaven, but there is some things you can take to heaven with you. That is your character. Develop a strong, solid, good, honest character here on earth. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Begin today to help change your character for better. But investing into heaven's stock market by helping the poor, those who are neglected, those who have been abused, whatever abuse that was, helping the unhealthy in mind and soul, maybe somebody who's depressed or anxious. If there's things that you know, like I'm teaching you something that I've learned after being 20 years in financial services, I want others to know those things too, so that they can be financially stable. There's things you know that can help others bring those, helping prisoners or the local church and the ministries, evangelism, global mission, charities, Christian businesses. Wouldn't it be great not have to worry, not for your family anymore, but for the ministries that you want to give to? So investing money, we should invest, we should also give the greatest possible return for God's glory, diversify our investments, fruitful, multiply, replenish, and subdue, and have dominion over the earth. We are God's people. We are His children. We are not like the animal kingdom. We stand up straight. We have a vertebrae that is straight. We have brains that gives us a conscience that gives us the ability to invest wisely, to earn good things and make good, or I should say, better decisions now. Research, do your research, and begin to do great things for you and your family, and then finally the little world around you. First into heaven's stock market, then education and land, homes, businesses, IRAs, long-term investing. So, Do you have any questions? I'm going to see here in the chats. Do you have any questions that I could quickly answer? I don't have much time because I want to get into debt. So if you have any questions, quickly type it up there. If not, then I'll move on. Okay, you ready to get out of debt? I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to move on right back to the slide presentation and eliminating debt. These are the biblical principles of financial management. And one of them is to not be a slave to anyone or to anything. That was never God's intention for that anybody should have a thumb over them, but we should all be free. And that includes debt free. I know that sometimes as we're just growing, be teenagers, and then we're going to college, and then we start to get those student loans and then those car loans, and then whoa, we get this amazing credit card payment. How much money can I spend on that credit card? Then I lift that balance on that credit card and get another credit card, and sooner than you knew it, I mean, it's slick. I mean, it's fast. You're in debt over your eyeballs because you keep telling yourself, as long as I can afford the minimum payments. And we all know that's not the right way to look at it anymore. Decide to be debt free, because as long as you're trapped, you're going to have struggles in your life. As long as you're trapped in debt, you're going to fight with your spouse. You're going to continue to not understand and potentially make more worse decisions. You're not going to be able to invest where you want to invest. You can't even give the way you want to give. As long as all of your money is going towards these people you don't even care about or even know, have never seen, and now you're paying 5 times more for that pizza that you bought 5 years ago. If you bought a pizza today, let's say pizzas, and it was $25, do you know over the life, if you charged it at 20%, that it would cost you $75? Is it worth it? No. You need to cut your credit cards today. Stop charging anymore and go to a cash basis. Begin now to buy things with cash only and begin eliminating your debt. So if you're in this situation right now where you have a lot of debt, I'm not going to ask you to start investing. That investing can happen later. We could do a money market. Get that up to $1,000 just for emergencies. That's it. After that, we want to eradicate debt forever out of your life. I'm going to show you how to do that with these simple principles right now. One, generate some extra income. So if you're really serious about getting out of debt and investing for the future, get a second job online if you want to, or in your off hours. Take that TV time and turn it into money-making time. Start a small business, something that you've dreamed about, or invent something. So many ideas. If you want ideas, just search Google some small business ideas and you could come up with something. But start doing something where you can make extra money so that you can eradicate your debt faster than what I'm going to show you. So here I'm going to show you the two methods. There's the snowball method and the avalanche method. What do I mean by snowball? Well, snowball, I remember I grew up in Michigan. So we get to the top of a big hill and we'd compile some snow, roll it to make a big ball, and then push it and let gravity take it down the hill. And before you knew it, that thing was ginormous. And that was the basis for our snowman, just rolling that down the hill. But guess what else? If it wasn't a lot of snow, it would pick up leaves and grass and everything else along the way. With your snowball debt, you want to do that. You want to pick up all that debt and eradicate it along the way. So you want to list all your debts from the smallest to the greatest of everything that you owe. From the smallest, it might be a credit card, and then a car payment, and then a student loan, and then your mortgage, just for example. Pay the minimum on everything. This is how you do the snowball. Pay the minimum on everything. And don't worry about interest rates. Don't worry about those kind of things. But just pay the minimum except for the one that is your lowest debt. Pay as much as you can on that smallest debt until you pay it off. Maybe it only has a balance of $50 or $60, or maybe only $150. You pay a minimum on everything except for that guy. You pay as much as you can to pay it off. But then when it's paid off, you don't stop. Then you take it to the next one that's in line to be paid off. So let's say you're paying out of all your payments $2,400 a month for your car, your mortgage, your student loans, your credit cards. All of those things are $2,400 a month. You are going to make a commitment to stay with $2,400 a month or more, not less, until you're debt free. Does that make sense? So now let's say you were only paying $50 a month on that little credit card. Now it's paid off, and you're going to apply that $50 to the next one that was maybe $55. So now how much are you paying for those two, for that one card? You're paying an extra $50. So it's $105 that you're paying on that. Then when that credit card is done and paid off, you roll that $105 onto the automobile. And then when that is paid off, you roll that full payment. Now you're talking about $500 onto the student loan. And then when that's paid off, onto the mortgage. You may not realize this, but although you have 30 years on your mortgage and maybe 10 or 15 years on your car and 30 years on student loans, you could actually wipe all of that stuff out in 6 years just by using this principle alone. But there's also another way to do it. This is called the avalanche approach. An avalanche is where it all just comes down. It may even happen faster. One thing for sure with the avalanche approach, if you do your research on your debts and do this well, it will be paid off sooner and you'll pay less in interest. So it's similar. It's still got snow involved. So it's similar to the snowball in that you're going to make a commitment to make the same amount of total payments every month. But you may tweak it a little bit. With the avalanche, you're also concerned about interest rate. You're not going to pay the highest interest rate off. You're going to still pay something in the low range. Like here, you have a couple of credit cards. One credit card is $100, another one's $35. You want to pay the one with the highest interest rate off. Those two credit cards might have the same familiar balance on them. And so you want to pay the one off that has the highest interest rate, not the lowest balance. Do you see the difference between the snowball and the avalanche? The one with the highest rate also with a similar balance. So then when you do the same thing on the snowball here, once that's paid off, you roll it to the next guy and roll it to the next guy and roll it to the next guy. This is how you eliminate debt very quickly. So getting out of debt, you can do it fast. It's not easy. But is it worth it? Imagine with me for a moment, 6 years from now, no more financial slavery. You don't have to answer the phone. You don't have to be worried whenever the phone rings anymore. Should I look at, that's a scam call, or is that my credit card company? Is that my student loan? You don't have to worry about all that stuff anymore. If you don't know those guys, they're not going to call you anymore. No more arguing about it with your significant other. No more sleepless nights wondering, how am I going to take care of this? I've got to put food on the table. I've got to pay all these creditors. I've got to pay this debt. And then you're wondering, how do other people survive? This is how those people live a joyful life. You know what? Joy can come to you today if you have hope today that in 6 years you are completely financially debt-free and on the road to financial independence. No more saying, we can't afford to, or we live paycheck to paycheck. It really means financial freedom to be out of debt. What does God want for you? Does He want you to be in debt? If your answer is absolutely no, then follow these principles and get out of debt. I got nothing to sell you, right? I'm just trying to help you. I want our community and ultimately the world to be completely out of debt so that we're not tied to the world. Because the day is going to come that if you're tied to the world, they can use it against you. You don't want there to be any strings attached to the world when that time comes, do you? Get out of debt. Invest for your children and your children's children. So now let me ask you, and I'm going to go back. Now talking specifically about debt. Are there any questions that you have on eliminating it?
Mr. Westerman, maybe one thing you can clarify for some of the faith-based folks who may be on here,
Okay.
which most of it, because obviously it's Bible finance stuff. But is debt itself a sin? Because some people struggle with that too. Can you just clarify that from any scripture? Like, what's the scriptural view in general? But is debt by itself an issue?
I wouldn't say that just owing someone money is a sin. In fact, if I look at ancient Israel, they even had to barter and trade and borrow at some times. They had to borrow. The only time they got into trouble was and put into slavery back then, mostly if they weren't captured, but if they were Israelites, they would have to sell their labor, they'd sell their work, but still they weren't abused back then if they were a slave, but because they owed money to somebody and couldn't pay it back. So to borrow is okay. You got to get a house, right? You don't want to wait until you're 60 years old to be able to own a home. Owning a home and owning a car are necessities. We know about necessities right now, don't we? Because of the COVID, we have those necessity jobs, which I'm in one now where I need to travel with a mask outside while other people can work from home. But that necessity, it's not a sin to purchase those things and to borrow money. It is a sin, though, to, with your heart, borrow when it's not necessary. If you have to borrow when it's not necessary, then you have to ask yourself the question, is my heart in the right place? If it's something that I really don't need, why am I borrowing it? If it's something that I want, and that's fine. God has all given us desires to want better things for our lives, and we should. But let's do it like they did 100 years ago. Our great-great-grandparents didn't have credit cards. They saved for it. Now, they didn't have good mutual funds to invest into either, so they saved in a jar or under their mattress or in the ground, but they saved for it. So if you want something, save. It's not a sin to go into those mortgage payment debt like you need to, but pay it off absolutely as fast as you can.
All right, we got another one from Josephine. Josephine says, are there any increased benefits of doing the avalanche over snowball or vice versa? Like which one may be?
Yeah. If you want to take the time to do the avalanche, because it takes a little bit more thought process and looking at it's easy to do the snowball because all you say in the snowball is I'm just going to pay the littlest to the highest, just keep paying it. But on the avalanche, you have to have a little bit more wherewithal and say these two debts are close in balance. Now, the one I'm going to pay, I'm going to switch. This one has a higher interest, so I'm going to switch it around. You're going to pay the one with the higher interest rate off faster. Why? Because the benefit is you pay less interest on it. It may save you some thousands of dollars by the time that it's done. Yes. Anything else?
That's it for now.
Okay. Then moving forward, we're still on the kingdom principles for financial management. Leaving a living legacy. What is a legacy? It's a bequest or an inheritance. It's a birthright, heritage. It's really something you want to be known for. What is my legacy? What's going to be on my epitaph? Owed people money when he died? No, what do you want people to remember you for? And is it because of stuff you did for others or only for what you did for yourself? Plan your estate and the distribution now. What happens if you don't plan an estate? I'll tell you, because I did some estate planning for people. I was an estate planner also. Those that didn't do the estate planning or for themselves or didn't have it prepared, the government steps in and takes over. And in many cases, they can take up to 40%, in some cases 100%, if there's no one that they can find to money to go to. We don't want the government in charge of our finances and our hard-earned dollars that we have over time that we've invested. So make an assessment of your net worth. Net worth isn't just your money. Net worth is properties that you own or value in a business. Those are your net worth. So fill out a financial balance sheet where you know what your net worth is, and then allocate your assets through wills and trusts and testaments. You could do this because you could state exactly. There are some really cheap ones that you can get online, or you can get some from your church. If you're part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and you can contact the trust services, and they will come and help you for free in many cases. If you're a young family, they'll come and sit with you for free and help you plan it. You don't have to give anything back. Now, their hope is that you will remember them when something happens with a small percentage, but they will help you out. Get it done, though, right away. We don't know when something could happen to us, and then the next thought we have is the soon coming of Jesus. So don't leave your assets, though, to the state for distribution. Put it in writing so there are no family feuds. You can change it while you live. My dad did this. He made sure that he sat down and financially planned with me what he wanted to happen with his money when he passed. And so when he did pass away, there weren't any arguments. Everything was set in stone. Everything that he wanted and how he wanted it was distributed accordingly. And he was able to bless his children because of it. But get your documents in a secure place. Marriage certificates, investment portfolios, business, income statements, deeds, and properties. I know when we first started learning this, when I was in my 20s, the first thing my wife and I did is we purchased a fireproof safe. You can get a fireproof safe and put all those valuables in it. Maybe you have some coins, your Social Security cards, put them in the safe, and the wills and trusts in the safe. Put those in a fireproof safety box. Do you have a life insurance so if you die, you are adequately taken care of? Life insurance is not there to make anybody wealthy. In fact, Ellen G. White warns against it. Don't purchase life insurance as an investment because nobody should be getting wealthy off of your death. And I know some people have even said, when I was in the financial services business, the husband usually would say, "What do I care about life insurance? I'm going to be dead." And then she, of course, would hit him on the arm. She says, "Because you care about me." So take care of those that you leave behind when you pass away. Don't buy a whole life insurance policy. I'm going to say that emphatically. It is a terrible form of insurance and investing. Buy a long-term term insurance policy, 20 or 25-year term insurance policy. Those are the best way, because if you take, and this is going to take, again, some financial knowledge. If you take the same amount of money that you pay in a whole life insurance policy, let's say $1 million policy. Why $1 million? Let's start there, okay, real quick. Why $1 million? If something were to happen to you, how long could your family live off of that insurance policy? It's not going to make them wealthy if they had $1 million. If you're making $100,000 a year, how long will $1 million last? It only lasts 10 years, you see? So you may need $1 million life insurance or $1.5 million, just depending on your income and the cost of the burial. Burial costs are still around $10,000 to $12,000. You'll need that, and you'll need to replace your income for a time until they can get back on their feet. So you may need $1 million. Who can afford $1 million life insurance policy on a whole life insurance? Barely anybody. It might be $250 to $300 a month. So what do? You buy a long-term 25-year to 20-year term insurance policy that may only cost you $55 a month, and take the difference that you save and invest it into a long-time mutual fund. See, you put it in that growth mutual fund and you label it life insurance. So now, should anything happen to you, your family now not only has the insurance proceeds of that $1 million, but all the money that you invested into the mutual fund also. See? That's a great way to invest and save. Leaving a legacy. What's your wish? People can't read your mind, so you need to put it in writing. What's your wish if you were to be hospitalized or incapable of making financial or health decisions? If you get into a car wreck, like has happened with me, I praise the Lord that he has kept all my faculties in place and my brain with my wherewithal. But what would happen if something happened? Motorcycle wreck, car wreck, or something, and you fell off of something and your brain wasn't functioning anymore. Who do you trust to put those things in order for you? Not only make decisions about you, but also make decisions about what you want to do with your money. What's your favorite charity or mission or most frequently supported projects? Where your mouth is, there your money should be also, right? What is it you really care about? Put your money there for the future. Leave a legacy of your faith. What do you firmly believe in that you want to prosper when you're gone? Not only your children, your children's children, but what if you were to live for 500 years, where would you continue to give your money to? That's what you want to put down in writing. Don't just leave material assets. Leave that legacy, not only for your family, but for your community. What one thing would you want the world to know or have as a result of having you lived in it? You're not a slug. I hope not. What's a slug? A slug is a person who only takes from this world for what they can get, selfishly eating, entertainment, doing whatever they feel is good for themselves. And that's really the rule of Satan. Do good because it feels good, because you want to. But if you want to leave a good, holy legacy, then you'll have something to show for it when you go. Something that benefits the world. Die broke means don't leave the money to the world. Leave it where you want it to go. So before you take your last breath, by leaving to the ones you want to, leave that legacy. We brought nothing into this world, right? When we were born, we had nothing. But let's leave something great for those who come behind us. Biblical financial summary for everything we've talked about today. 1, start on the road to debt freedom right now. Start, plan. Am I going to do the snowball? And this is how much, or am I going to do the avalanche? This is how much I'm going to set aside until I am debt free. 2, aim for the best results from your investments. Don't gamble in just particular stocks because somebody said, oh man, I made 50% in this thing last year. Let's do it again this year. Invest wisely into good, solid mutual funds, right? Diversify your investments first in the kingdom expansion. Also, so remember, your time is important to God. You have a purpose. You have talents. Use these things to benefit the world, not just yourself. And then invest in the mutual funds, your personal talents, and into the kingdom. Always live within your means. Spend less than you earn. It's just like if you want to lose weight, right? Exercise more than what your intake is. Intake, expression out. Intake, expression out. And you will have a balanced lifestyle, not only with your weight, but also with your finances. And leave a lasting legacy for the generations to come. May the Holy One richly bless you all and your family as you eliminate debt from your life and save for your future to leave a lasting legacy for your children's children.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Westerman, for that. We'll take one quick question. We are right on the hour there. Any one quick question? There's one here from Selvin Duncan. Question is, let me post it so everyone can see it here. It says, I thought life insurance gets higher as you get older.
As you get older, every life insurance policy is expensive to purchase, more expensive to purchase. Now, if you're talking about the premiums on life insurance are based upon your age and your health when you purchase it. So now you want to purchase a level term insurance for 20 or 25 years. It's a level-based term insurance where the premiums cannot go up. It's illegal for them to raise the premiums on you. The reason you do it for a term is because that's the amount of time that you're also going to be investing the difference of the money that you save by not buying whole life insurance. And normally with that time frame, let's call it 20 years. 20 years, you should have in your growth mutual fund more than the value of what your whole life insurance policy would have been. So then you eradicate the need for ever having life insurance again because you are self-insured. I hope that makes sense.
Awesome. All right. Well, we want to thank Mr. Westerman for sharing with us today. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. Josephine says thank you. And so we appreciate it. Any links where people can contact or learn more?
Oh, I wish I had some. Used to have a lot, but since I'm not in that business anymore, I'm an estimator now for a large construction company, but I'm not in financial services anymore. So I just use the wisdom that I learned from years back.
Well, what you can do in the meantime, you can go to allnationsSDAchurch.org, and he has weekly teachings there. He is a teacher at our church, and you can continue to learn more, and some of the other sermons that he's preached in the past as well. They are all there.
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Alrighty. God bless. We'll talk soon. All right, folks. We're queuing up for the next presentation. Duncan says, thank you. Josephine, thank you. Pastor Carol says, thank you. Let me give a shout out to a few more people. And I want you to get some water, get some juice, sit down, because right now, I'm telling you, you are in for some true learning right here. So I'm going to cue it up, but let me give a shout out for some folks here. You know, we like to be social since we are here on this thing here. I know we see some other folks came on here. Jeffrey, Sandra, David, Elder Charles, Luther Charles, good to have you, my friend. Thank you so much for always being with us. Barbara, Josh, Judy, good young folks. You guys got to be on here too, right? We have some millennials here, recent graduates done. So all of these are really good. I'm glad to see them here. Melissa, John Tillette says thank you. Already, so folks, I don't want to do a lot of talking. I want you right now to be prepared to learn truly something that is going to revolutionize your life. You know, one of the things that I appreciate about perspectives is because we need, that's why Solomon says, in a multitude of counselors. There are principles and strategies that we learn from one teacher. We can learn from another in a different way. And here's the thing. You want to know as many things as possible so you can say, this one works for me. So the gentleman that I'm about to bring on here goes a way back, and he probably may not remember at all, but we know each other just in the recent years. But here's the thing. When my wife and I were serving at Oakwood University, when she was a student there, and we were in the student group, missionary group, I remember even Dr. Jeffrey Pascal, who's coming on after Don, he invited me to a seminar that a gentleman was doing by the name of Don Daniel. At that season of my life, I was just focused, buried in the Lord's work. So money was not a thing on my mind. So I told Jeffrey, I said, listen, Doc, I'm not really interested in attending any financial seminar at this time. And when we started talking about paying off our church mortgage, folks, remember that when we started talking about All Nations being a debt-free church, of course, you make the plan. We got up by faith. We said we're going to do it. But we need strategies. We need principles. So we have applied several principles. But here's what happened. I went searching because the Bible says you should seek and you will find. And I saw a video online from Mr. Don Daniel called the Pill Method. Immediately when I saw his name, it brought back to my mind. I remember this guy, and of course he's an Adventist. He knows the Oakwood community, and so I said, I know this gentleman. But here's why I called him. I actually called him, yes, because I watched this presentation by Don Daniel 3 times in a row. Why 3 times in a row? Because the information was so radical. It disturbed my paradigm. I really and truly could not believe what I was saying. I mean, what I saw was the first time in my life I truly understand how debt work, how credit work, how loans and interest truly work. I had no clue. Now I have a background. I have a bachelor's with business management. I have a master's in project management as well, which is all business course related. I took some accounting stuff. I have never heard what Mr. Dan Daniel had to share. Never. So I called him. He was able to give me some advice and so forth, and we were able to implement the basics. We didn't even implement the full pill method, but we implemented the basics that we know, and now is history. Of course, our church is debt free. Now we have two churches that are debt free. But if we had implemented all four of those methods that he teaches, we would have probably been debt free faster, and we could have done and even saved more money for the church. So, without further ado, I'm telling you, saints, you need to get a pen and paper. I'm not just wanting you to be on your cell phone now. And you know me, I love you all. Some of you are my church members in here already. Some of you are from sister churches in the community. So, this is what your pastor is saying. I could not give you this knowledge. No pastor in the valley can give you this knowledge because it's not taught anywhere. So what you are getting right now is a front row seat, and I want you to value it, because here's the thing. While it is free to the recipient like the gospel, this knowledge and information costs. Mr. Don Daniel has clients who are well-to-do. He gives presentation at real estate places and so forth, real estate companies, and some of them fly him to the tune of thousands of dollars. And you get now to sit at his feet for 1 hour to take in this information. So please hear it. Your paradigm might be disturbed, but that's what learning is. That's how you know you're learning something. So please let us welcome. Let us do this, by the way. Laura is on here. Laura, good to have you on. Thank you, my sister, for being here. Let us give Don Daniel a welcome by just putting welcome Don in the chat right now. Put welcome in the chat. And Don, I turn it over to you, my brother.
Pastor Chance, how's my audio?
Good. We looking good, and we hearing you good. So go right ahead.
All right. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for inviting me on this today. Let me turn this on so I can. All right. You still got me?
Yeah, we still got you. That level right there was good.
All right, good. And has it changed, or is it still good?
Still good.
Okay, great. Listen, I want to thank you for inviting me, and I wanted to say hi to Phil Westerman. I know him from Battle Creek days when we were both in Battle Creek at the Tabernacle. So this was kind of Old Home Week, and you know, this is the first time I heard that you were actually in the audience at one of my presentations. You never told me that. So listen, anytime, this is going to be so new for some of you, so radical. Pastor Chance, if somebody wants to stop and ask questions, I don't need to wait till the end. So you can just break right in, and since there's somebody has a question, I can go back over some of this that you've never seen before. And because it is so radical, we may need to stop and do, like you said, Pastor, you had to watch it, my presentation 3 times. So
in a row.
So listen, I don't mind stopping and going back over some things, because what we're going to learn today is the anatomy. I'm going to put this on the screen right now. Let's see here. Well, okay, and so are you seeing my PowerPoint? Hello?
Yes, we're seeing it. We're good.
Okay, good. All right. So this is called the anatomy of a loan. And what we're talking about is when we borrow this, the tool that we're talking about is the amortized loan, which is the most ubiquitous financial tool on the planet, and virtually no one knows how it works. So let me go over some things with you. PIL method stands for prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. Now, I have a book by the same name that we're going to be talking about a little later, The PIL Method, a better way to eliminate debt. And so this is what PIL stands for. By learning these four basic principles, we can understand debt, we can understand lending, and we can understand what's really going on with these loans. Albert Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world, but amortized interest has to be the ninth. Listen, if I had a choice between earning compound interest and earning amortized interest, give me amortized interest all day long. This thing is so powerful. Banks are making trillions of dollars because we don't understand how lending works. This is now, if we were to liken the loan process to the human body, this formula here would be the brain. This is the brains of the outfit that banks use to make their money. This formula amortizes the loan. Now, if a bank has a formula that is amortizing the loans, don't you think we need an algorithm just like theirs so that we can fight fire with fire? Now, once you understand how all of this works, you will find out there's a list of people who have not been taught how a loan works. First one is your accountant. Your accountant does not know how a mortgage, student loan, credit card, car loan, don't know how it works. Did you know if you have a mortgage that the person that sold you your mortgage did not have to take a test on how a mortgage works to get their license? And if there's some mortgage professionals out there, you know this to be true. And if you are in real estate, did you know a real estate agent does not need to take a test to get their license on understanding how a loan works? Even bankers don't know how a loan works. Now, that may sound strange, but the people who own the bank understand how a loan works, not the folks that work in the bank. They don't know how a loan works. Very important to know. Here is what we heard a little bit about this in the previous presentation. Proverbs 22:7 says, "The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender." Now, it wasn't too long ago that it was illegal to teach certain people how to read. Why is that? Because if you could read, you could gain knowledge, and with that knowledge, you could gain some power. And here's what I'm trying to tell you. Because most people do not know how to read an amortization schedule, and we're going to learn that today. I'm going to teach you how to teach you how to read an amortization schedule. Because the rich ruleth over the poor, the borrower is slave to the lender. How long will you be a slave to the lender if you do not know how to read an amortization schedule? The schedule that causes you to pay back loans in a certain way. Now, This thing is so powerful. It will cause people to pay so much more money than they need to. It is ridiculous. So, how do we avoid doing that? We learn how they make money. Now, this thing is so powerful, but it has a weakness. And I'm going to teach you the weakness that that their system has, and with that weakness, you can now benefit. When we pay a loan the way the lenders want us to pay, we pay 75% more interest than we need to pay. Now, I want you to listen to this. I have people who have fantastic incomes. Their credit score is over 800. And do you know that before I met them, some of them, a lot of them, can be convinced to pay 100 to 300% interest on their loans, and they don't even realize it. I need you to write that down because we're going to get back to that later. How in the world can an educated, well-to-do individual with an interest rate with a credit score of over 800 be fooled into paying 100 to 300% interest? I'm telling you, folks, it happens every single day. The pill method is more powerful than the debt snowball or the avalanche methods combined. Folks, I've been working on this for the last 16 years. My book on Amazon, Pastor, were you able to load those pictures?
We have a picture of the book they can click on in a second when you call for it.
Okay, let's
Gonna
go
be
ahead.
able to,
Let's go ahead and put the
you,
book
you
on.
can continue with your slide. I'm just going to display it on the bottom.
Okay, good. All right. And so I'm actually done with the slides right now. So
Okay.
we're going to go into let's see here.
Feel free to share whatever.
Okay, great. All right. So we're going to put an amortization schedule on the screen. Oh, before I go there, all right? Before I go there, I want to put this on the screen. There are 10 laws that govern amortization. Are we seeing that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. There are 10 laws that govern amortization. I won't be able to go over all 10. I will need to go over some. Most people believe that there are 2 or 3 things we can do to get out of debt when there are actually thousands. A loan is a very complicated instrument. It has to be for the banks to make a lot of money. So what we're going to be learning about is the law of inertia and heuristics. A heuristic is a rule of thumb. A lot of us will manage our finances due to a rule of thumb, something that we've heard. In other words, has anybody ever heard that they should make a large down payment on a loan? That is a heuristic. Has anybody ever heard that they should, let's say, if the interest rates drop by 1.5% to 2%, that we should refinance our loans? That is a heuristic. That is a rule of thumb. Has anybody heard that when we, let's say, we're attempting to get out of debt, and the we can roll in some of our debt into a mortgage, doing what's called debt consolidation. That can be good for us because it lowers our payment and we can get out of debt faster. These are heuristics because no one has actually done the math to see that these things are true. There is a law of diminishing return. It is possible to actually pay too much on the wrong loan at the wrong time and actually end up being in debt longer than you're supposed to. I'm going to show you about that today. Opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is important because as we're paying off our loans, if you pick the wrong loan, you can pay more than you are supposed to pay in interest. And if you pay more in interest, you're going to be in debt longer. Let me ask you this question. You probably want to write this down. If you have a loan amongst your other loans that is 0% interest, is there any benefit to you to pay that 0% interest loan off faster? Is there any benefit to paying off a 0% loan faster, especially if you have other loans that are charging interest? That is something we need to really focus in on, because when you're paying interest, you stay in debt longer. When you can cut your interest cost, you can get out of debt faster. There's the law of big data, factorial math, cost benefit ratio, critical point analysis, interest cost versus interest rate. Do you know most of us focus on our interest rate when we should be focusing on interest cost? Don, what's the difference? The law of amortization, inattentional blindness. And here, number 10, the debt snowball versus the law of interest cancellation. I'm going to go over some of this today. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put a client example on that we just worked on. I've eliminated the name to protect them, but this is an individual who just refinanced their loan. Interest rates dropped, so they had a higher interest rate loan. They took out a new loan, a new 30-year loan on their house, and took out some money to pay off some other debt, and added about $12,000 to their loan to consolidate some things. Okay, now they still have other debt. They got 2 cars and several other credit cards, and we're going to show you what's going on here. Now, with this particular loan, in the first 5 years, and I hope you can see this, in the first 5 years, 60 months, even at their new lower interest rate, they're going to pay down their mortgage by $29,466.80. That's the principal pay down. Here's how much interest they're going to pay: $58,653.40. My goodness. How fair is that? Who wants to pay that kind of money, even at low interest rates, to pay off their debt? Now, this is what we term as inattentional blindness. We do not focus on what we are not paying attention to. And we are not paying attention to interest cost. This is interest cost. We focus on interest rate, not interest cost. So in the first 5 years, the bank wants them to pay $88,120.20 just on the mortgage, and only $29,466 is a benefit to the consumer. The rest of that money went to the bank. Here is the interest rate, 3.99%. And what we're going to learn is that in amortization, 3.99% really means that over the life of this loan, these folks are going to pay 71% of what they borrowed. 71.622% of what they borrowed, they're going to pay that in interest alone. Here's another way to look at it. If their loan was $100,000 for 30 years at 3.99%, do you realize that the contract they signed says the bank wants $71,622 interest on a $100,000 loan? Now, folks, how is that 3.99%? Today, I'm going to show you. So have your calculators handy. Some of you have your phones. We're going to show you how the bank turns 3.99% into 71.622% at 662%, and we don't even realize it's happening, and we gladly sign those papers and get that mortgage, and we shout, hallelujah, I got the house, even though I've got to pay 71% interest on it. So we're going to show you how not to do that today. Okay? So now when we add up all of the debt that they have, they are going to pay off their debt. The bank wants them to pay $237,171 in interest. This is why 9 out of 10 people you know will never, ever get out of debt because of this. $237,171. If we're looking at the anatomy of a loan, the brains of the outfit is that formula I told you about. The skeleton is the amortization schedule. The energy or the food that this thing eats is your money. Now, what you want to do is make your money as efficient. Don't you want to extract as much energy or nutrition out of the food that you can eat so that you can build strong bodies that can live for a long time, stay disease-free? You want your body working in tip-top condition. The way that the bank wants the body to work is to take the food, turn it into empty calories, devoid of nutrition. And so that this is the most inefficient use of your money. So too much of it goes to interest, making your finances fat and bloated and disease-ridden, because we are not using the energy we put in, which is our money, so that it can be efficient in accomplishing the loan's purpose. The loan's purpose is to give us a payment we can afford and get out of debt. So we're going to take exactly what the loan that the banks are teaching us, turn it around to our favor. Here's what's happening. I want you to tell me now, which side would you prefer? This is the bank side on the left side. This is a client that we have on our program right now, and this is not uncommon. We bring on several new clients every week, every month, every year that's paying off debt just like this. And if you want to go to my website, pillmethod.com, you can actually get one of these for free. You can know the month and year you can be debt free, and you can know how much interest you can save. Now watch this. Here's what the bank wants. They owe a total of $374,945.51. The bank wants them to pay an additional $237,171 in interest on top of that, and the bank wants them to take 30 years to do it. So, anybody want to sign up for the left side? Anybody like this side? All right, so let's take a look at the right side. Here's what's happening, and write this down because this is important. This family, without changing their budget and without sacrificing lifestyle, so you do not have to live this type of lifestyle where you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, you have to drive a 20-year-old car, you can't go on vacation, you can't get your hair done, you can't have any fun. No, what we're telling you is that you can have live a lifestyle that is pleasurable and get out of debt. Now, here's the other thing you need to know before we get into this. You do not have to choose between funding your retirement and funding Christian education. You don't have to choose between the two anymore. Because we're funding Christian education, some people cannot fund their retirement because of how much things cost. We can show you how you can get out of debt, fund retirement, fund Christian education, and get out of debt in record time. Watch this. These folks are going to pay a total of $59,972, not $237,000, only $59,972 to pay off the $374,000 that they owe. And they're going to do it in 6.7 years. And all of the money that they were used to giving to the bank, this is $183,000 interest savings. And all of the money that they were given to the bank to pay on their debt forever, they're now going to be able to take those funds and put it into wealth creation to the tune of $1.712 million, $1,712,366, and that is on top of their regular retirement, because they weren't supposed to have access to this money because they were supposed to be in debt for 30 years. So because they're not being in debt for 30 years, they're able. Now, here's what we're talking about, folks. This is very important. Are we taking retirement funds to get out of debt like this? Absolutely not. Here's what we're looking at. You have your lifestyle money. This is the money we have fun with. This is the money we create memories with our children with. Our lifestyle money. We're not touching that. Your monthly bills, we're not touching that either. Got to have the monthly bills. The minimum payments on your loans, we're not touching that. And money going into retirement, we're not touching that money either. Out of those four things taken care of, there's going to be some money left over. We're going to show you how to optimize the use of that leftover money after all these other things are taken care of. Use that leftover money to optimize it so that you can kill interest. Our goal is not to get out of debt fast. Our goal is to get out of debt cheap. So you want to pay the least amount of interest you can so that you can get out of debt as fast as you can by focusing on the interest cost and cutting interest cost. And all that interest you're not paying the bank and all those payments you're no longer paying the bank, you can now invest that as well on top of your regular investments and have a very nice retirement. Not only that, but you will be able to fund whatever mission, charity, um, or good works you want to want to promote and fund. Out of all of these funds, you can not only be debt free, but you can be a philanthropist. You can fund great missions. I'm telling you, it is a great way to live. Now, watch this. I want to show you something. Do you see that there's $59,000 that they're going to pay now to get out of debt? The $374,000. I need you to go back up here and remember that the bank wanted them to pay $58,653 in interest to pay off the first $29,000 of their debt in the first 5 years. Now these folks are going to be able to pay $59,972 to pay off the $374,000 that they owe, and do it in 6.7 years. This is what amortization does to a loan. And now we're going to learn how not to pay this interest. Are you ready? Let's go to work. So we're going to put this on the screen now. All right. I now have an amortization calculator on the screen. Can we see this now? Okay,
Yes.
great. So here is the loan that these folks refinanced to 3.99%. And remember, I told you they added $12,000 on top of their original loan to refinance this with the fees and the money that they took out to pay off some other debt. Now, watch this. Even at the low interest rate, the new low interest rate, they borrowed $308,000 now. The bank still wants them to pay $220,719.94 on a $300,000 loan. Folks, that is not 3.99%. That's 71.622%.
Don,
Go
one quick
ahead.
sec. We seeing it good, but can you press maybe Command Plus and see if
Now
it will
you
zoom
got
in
it.
just a little bit more? Okay, and pull it to the left a little
How's
bit.
that?
Okay.
Better?
Okay.
Man, I listen, I like working with you,
Yeah,
Pastor. It makes it so much easier.
you're good.
All right. So here's what we're looking at. Okay. The very first payment on this mortgage, $444.57 goes to principal. Look how much goes to interest. So when we pay this $444.57 on the principal, we're left with $307,556.69. The bank does their financial wizardry with that formula I told you, and then they're able to use this number for us to be able to pay a smaller amount of interest on our second payment. So because we owe less, we pay less interest on line 2. Now, watch this. On line 2, our interest payment goes all the way down to $1,022.63. Let me show you how this works. Now, I need you to get your calculators out, because now we're going to see how in the world that bankers make so much money on these loans. All right? So get out here on your calculator and clear your calculator, and we're going to put the 3.99% into our calculators as a decimal. That is 0.0399. Put in your calculator 0.0399 and divide that by 12. You should get 0.003325. Now, take that and multiply it by the month-end balance after the first payment. That's the $307,556.69. So let's do that. Multiply by $307,556.69. And we get, $1,022.62.5 that we round up to $1,022.63. I bet you were thinking that somehow or another that the bank was taking that 3.99% and multiplying it somehow by the whole $308,000 that they have to come up with the interest cost. No, they're taking 1/12 of the interest rate and multiplying it by the unpaid balance 360 times. That's 360 mortgages, not one. That's why it is so expensive. So in the first year, do you see this cumulative principal and cumulative interest? In the first year, after the first year, look here. They're going to pay down their loan by $5,433.46. That's all the principal payments added up. How much interest they're going to pay to pay off $5,000? Listen, folks, if you're working this hard to pay off $5,000 that you owe, should it cost $12,000 in interest to do that? What if we could pay this money off that we owe for a lot less interest? Doesn't it make sense to stop focusing on how to pay down the principal and let's focus on how to pay less interest? Isn't that the way it should go? Let's take a look at how we can do this. Now, I got to teach you some things about how the bank makes its money first. Then we can talk about how my system actually works. Now, this is how the bank does it. If we take that $444.57 and the $1,024.10, it adds up to our regular payment of $1,468.67. Okay? So we subtract that from what we owe, and we're left with the principal balance on line 1. And if this is January's payment, let's say we make our first payment in January, our February principal payment would be the $446.04. That's February's principal payment. Now, from what some of you know about loans, that you can pay extra on a loan anytime you want. But what we don't know is what happens when we do. How many have paid extra on a mortgage, student loan, car loan, or credit card, more than the minimum payment? Did you get on your receipt how much interest you saved? Now you know that if you pay more, you're going to pay off faster and you're saving interest. But did they tell you how much time and how much interest you saved? I bet you when you went to the grocery store and bought some things on sale, or the department store and bought some things on sale, they put it at the bottom of the receipt. This is how much money you saved. But there's not a banker anywhere that's ever told you how much interest you saved when you paid extra on the loan. Not only that, it didn't even occur to us to ask. This is how conditioned we are to give the bank more money than we should. Watch this. So if this is January's payment, we make January's payment, and then we take a look at February's principal payment. Let's say $446.04. Let me ask you, if you have that kind of money just kind of sitting in the bank, do you have to wait till February to give it to the mortgage company? If you had it, could you also give it to the bank in January? Well, if you did, no interest money comes out of here because you paid the interest on line 1. You give that to the bank anytime in January, you're paid down to line 2 in January, and your next mortgage payment is on line 3. So February's new mortgage payment is actually on line 3 of this schedule, where you're paying $447.53 and $1,021.14 in interest. If that's the case, what happened to this $1,022.63 on line 2? Some of you are saying it went down to $1,021. But let me tell you, what really happened is it went away. You just eliminated from your total interest cost $1,022 by giving the bank the $446.04 early. How about that? Is that powerful information? Are there any questions at this time? So if there are, Pastor, interrupt me and I will take them. Now, let's take a look at this. Not only are we saving this much interest off our total interest bill, we're squeezing this, we're squeezing the amortization schedule, or the skeleton of the anatomy. We're squeezing it so that payment number 1 is now touching payment number 3. Watch this. What if we did this? What if we made our January payment and then paid, we had the $446.04, the $447.53, and the $449.02. We put all of that with our January payment on top. What would happen to these 3 interest payments? That's right. You never have to pay them. And you just went down to line 5 for February's new payment. Payment number 1 is now touching payment number 5 for a lot less money. Okay, watch this. At the end of 1 year, this is how much principal you pay down. So let me ask you, now that you've learned what you've learned, this is all the principal payments added up for 1 year, $5,433.46. We already know that we have to pay that to the bank because that's the money we borrowed. But since we know we have to pay it to them eventually, do we have to pay it to the bank in 12 monthly installments? If you had this money, could you pay it in 1 installment on line 1? And if you did, would you be paid down to line 12 in just 1 month? Then what would happen to all the interest between line 2 and line 12? Gone. You could pay your mortgage all the way down to here with only $1,024.10 in interest instead of $12,190.58 in interest. Have you ever heard your mortgage explained like this before? This is why it is so important that you never learn how to read this. This is why it is not taught in school. This is why your mortgage professionals don't know it. This is why your real estate agents don't know it. This is why your accountants aren't privy to this information. You're getting this from the pill method. You're getting it from the book and from the online videos. So let me talk to you about.
One sec then.
Go ahead.
One sec. So Lionel says it makes sense to use the amortization calendar in this way to get ahead. Thelma and Albert says very powerful information. Lionel again, this is really good. So wait, just hold up here, because what you're telling me here then.
Yes.
So you're saying, let's say for example, I'm starting my mortgage or credit card or whatever it is, or some loan. Instead of making a down payment, you're telling me that if I were to take $5,433.46 when I make my first payment. So now what you're saying is not only I save $12,000, but my next second payment is now line 13.
Exactly.
Wow.
So now that you mentioned down payment, you should never make a down payment on a mortgage if you can help it. Only
and do this instead.
Yeah, put the minimum that you can
man.
down, And I know some people who have 20, 30, $50,000 that they're putting down on a loan. Let me show you cumulative principal, what that would do if we put $30,000 on this mortgage. We knock off the first 5 years
Whoa.
and save $59,000 in interest.
Whoa. Wow. And
The-
5 years gone.
5 years gone. So you instantly turn a 30-year loan into a 25-year loan with the money that you would have used as a down payment, but you're going to use it as a prepayment on your debt and kill interest.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
Come on now.
Give us knowledge, brother. Come on. Bless us. Give us
Listen,
knowledge.
listen. Did you know? You already know, pastors, but a church armed with this information can pay off their church in 5 to 7 years without extra giving from the members. At
Wow.
current giving levels, if there is a reserve fund,
Wow.
why can't we take, for instance, let's say that the reserve fund is, we're putting about $5,000 into the reserve fund every month. Okay, Pastor? All right. So
I'm
for
with you. We guilty. I'm with you. Go ahead.
all your treasurers out there, could we then take $25,000 out of the reserve fund, put it on a loan out of the reserve fund, knock off 52 payments, kill $51,000 in interest, and if we're putting at regular giving levels $5,000 into the reserve fund, Pastor, how long is it going to take us to put our $25,000 back?
Wow. In no time.
Five,
And not only that, but
5
you
months to
mentioned
put
the
it back.
savings. Wow. And then the savings you mentioned, because here's the thing, like Philip said when he got on, if we just put it, because this is what we're famous for, right? We keep it in a checking account, earning 0 interest, or a savings account earning even less than 0.5%. So if we can take 20,000 instead of having it for, we talk about stewardship now. We talk about stewardship.
Yes.
Is it good stewardship where we can say 5 years we still have the same amount of money sitting down there in a checking account earning 0 or 0.05 when we could have knocked off $51,000 worth of debt?
No, that's the interest.
Cost?
That's
Interest cost, I mean.
interest cost. That's right.
Wow.
And then 5 months and listen, wait 5 months and do it again. Wait another 5 months. Do it again.
Repeat the process.
Yes.
So, oh my goodness.
So you're replenishing your reserve fund, then taking $25,000 again and hitting this loan, knocking off thousands of dollars in interest, knocking off months. Now, let's go back to the family that put $12,000 on top of this loan to get out of debt. Okay, so they put 12,000 to, they were taking some money out to pay off some debt and to pay the fee. This is what happens, folks. Let me ask you a question. If you refinance your loan to save money, all you have to do is ask 2 questions. If you're saving money, who has to be losing it? If you're saving money, who has to be losing it? And why would your own bank that has you at a higher interest rate call you with a lower interest rate offer and say it's time to save money? Your bank is calling you, who has a higher interest rate, making all this money, says, no, get the lower interest rate. When we have time and when I come back, I'm going to tell you why it is harder to pay off a loan at the lowest interest rate than to take a slightly higher one. I'm going to finish this up, Pastor, with this. These folks who were saving money, their payments are now $500 a month less by taking this deal from the bank. And they were smiling when they did it because they rolled the $12,000 into this loan. Let's see how long it takes them to pay off the first $12,000 they put on top of their old loan. It's going to take them 26 months to pay off the first $12,000. at the tune of $26,000 interest to get back to the $295,000 they had before they refinanced. It's going to take them 26 months to get them back to the old principal balance they had before the refinance, Pastor. Watch this.
Amazing.
So with this $12,000, their refinance didn't cost $12,000. It cost $12,000 plus $26,000. That is a total of $38,000 that they paid for the refinance. And remember in the beginning when I said people with perfect credit often pay between 100 and 300% interest, and they don't even realize it?
Wow.
If I borrow $11,000 and I pay $11,000 interest on an $11,000 loan, Pastor, isn't that 100% interest?
That's right.
If I put another $11,000 on top of that, taking me to $22,000 in interest, isn't that 200% interest?
Correct.
This loan, to put this rolled it into this refinance, they're paying in excess of 200% interest on the fee that they rolled into the loan. And
Wow.
everybody who gets a refinance does this, and they don't even realize it. Nobody points this out.
Wow.
So, Pastor, I know my time is up. I have so much more information. I think maybe some folks who would like to get a longer free presentation from me they can number one, they can put up, if you could put on the screen.
It's on the thing below.
Okay.
You can pull up the website if you feel free to. I also put it in the link here. Go to
Okay.
thepillmethod.com.
All
right
right.
below here, you can click on there and you will be able to see the book. Just click on the image, go there, put your email in, and walk us through the website right there.
Okay, well, here's the website. You can get a free savings report. The report that I got, you can know the month and year you're debt free by clicking on this button here. Clicking on the button. Watch this little video and start putting in your information, and we will then contact you so that you can know the month and year you could be debt free, the amount of interest that you could save, and you'll get an extended class on how all of this works. Okay. Not only that, but if you scroll down to where the book is, there's an offer here. You can download the first chapter of my book for free. It is actually on sale on Amazon right now. Let me see what the sale price is today. I know you probably can't see that, but it's usually $19.99. It's $16 now today, and let's see here. We were number 2 on this bestseller list, but we dropped down to number 7 and number 8. So with your help, maybe we can get back to number 1.
and I'll put that in context too, because this is for a while now.
Yes.
You when you launched this book, you hit bestseller way higher than that. You hit number 1, number 2 in different categories. So even this is great.
Yes.
And like I told folks on my last webinar, you know that we have some strategies to launch books to bestseller. But Don's book, Don, let me tell you, just to be frank and honest,
yes,
your book has outsold my book, Monetize Your Skills.
Wow.
Yes, your book has outsold my book, man. I mean, when I launched out, of course, I was number 1 in all categories, 12 different categories.
Yes.
But mine did not sustain the bestseller list like yours. Yours is still on the bestseller list. Right now, I don't even promote my stuff anymore, because I just do it in the beginning. But so that's why I'm telling you, folks, this means that people are buying this book. This means that people are seeing this book. Not only that, but the video that I first saw, now I went back today and it's over 300,000 plus views on
Wow.
that video. So that means people are getting this information. Why should God's people be in the dark? Listen, folks, remember, even yesterday, my sermon I preached about, we need to heed the voice of the prophet. Well, Don, as it were, is a financial prophet. Let's just put it that way, in the sense that God always gives his people wisdom, knowledge, and instruction. But he said we are destroyed for lack of the application. It's not just now you have the information. Let's take action. Go to the website and put it in here, bookmark it. You may need to watch the video over and over again, but at least get the free download, buy the book, because that's the you have to have it. You need to study it, you need to know it. If you're a parent on here, listen to me carefully. I just text one of my young millennials too, by the way, Don, and I told him, get his father on this presentation right now.
Yes.
Okay. If you're a pastor on here and you want a book Don to share with your church or have a virtual presentation, please do so. For those of you who've seen this now you understand what we've been trying to say. Don, of course, is the expert. When we talk about, we believe now in the last days, God's people can be debt free in a realistic way, in a practical way, and his houses of worship don't need to be debt free. I mean, be in debt like that. We can expeditiously use the funds, liberate the church, and also be a blessing to the community and the members. Now you know. So if your church is in debt, now you can help your pastor, because many of us as pastors, we don't know where to turn for these information. I was just blessed to be able to know Don, and through prayer and searching, God brought him back to our minds. So thank you, Don. Any other thing you want to share, Don? I really wish you can, if anything, depending on what I text you later on, I would even give up my time for my last presentation because I really want people to get this. I believe this is the best education that anyone can get right now in the area of finance. And I'm just not just saying that. I really believe that.
I want to share just a couple of stories with you about
Go
paying
ahead.
down debt. I had a guy call me not too long ago, and he was using the debt snowball method in paying off his debt. He makes good money. And so he took $40,000 out of the bank to pay off his automobile, okay? Pay off his car. And then he's going to take the $700 he's no longer paying on the car. He's going to put that on his mortgage every month. And I said, well, that's what the experts are teaching. Why are you calling me? He says, well, I saw one of your videos online. Now I'm wondering if we did the wrong thing. So now I asked him the question, when you paid off your car, how much interest did you save? You know, his answer had to be, I don't know. I said, that's a problem. Let's take a look and see how much interest you save by paying off the car. So we put in, he gave me his data. We put it into an amortization schedule. We found out that he saved $7,700 in interest, okay?
Wow.
By paying his $40,000. Now,
Okay.
his
Okay.
mortgage was quite a bit more expensive than the mortgage I have on this screen, okay? But if we had put that $40,000, now this is cumulative principal here. Column number 3, we're going to
You
go
can
down.
click the screen share again. Click the screen share
Oh,
again.
I'm sorry. I got too excited.
Good. No problem. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Click the screen share again. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. So, do you see the amortization schedule now?
There we go. We're back.
Okay. So now here's cumulative principal. If you had put that $40,000 on this loan, that would have saved him $75,000 in
Wow.
interest and knocked off 79 payments.
Wow.
Okay.
So we traded 7,000 for 75.
Right. So here's what we've been taught to believe. Anything I can do to get out of debt is as good as any other thing that I can do. And I'm trying to tell us that if we make a decision, this is called opportunity cost, folks. When you use your money one way, you can't also use it another way. And the difference between how you use your money could mean thousands of extra dollars. Because he paid off his car this way, he's actually going to be in debt longer because he's going to pay more interest. Now,
Hmm.
he signed up as a client because he didn't want to make any more big mistakes, because he was feeling pretty good about paying off the car. My car's debt free. But he had no clue as to the interest cost on the car and the interest cost on the mortgage, so he can make a good decision. Our program, our computer program, does all of the work for you and tells you exactly how much money to move, what day to move it on, what month to move it in, and which loan to attack, so that you can save the maximum amount of interest. But I've got last story, got a young pastor in our conference here who's going to be out of debt in about 8 years. 90% of our pastors are going to go into retirement in debt. He's going to be out of debt in 8 years. So
Wow.
on top of that, we have him in a investment program where he's going to be able to take out, at the time of retirement, about $70,000 a year on top of his regional retirement.
Praise the Lord.
With the monies he's no longer paying in interest. This
Wow.
is what we can do as a church, as a Christian family. We need to start funding the work instead of paying exorbitant amounts of interest just to live.
There we go.
Because we have been told this is the way it works. No, it doesn't. This is the way it works for them. It's unhealthy. We need it to work for us, to be good stewards. Let me tell you what stewardship really is all about. We focus a lot on the tithe, and we should. Tithe and offering, we should. But this also we should do. We need to focus on what to do with the 90%.
Yes.
And we have no clue what to
Yes.
do with the 90. We know what to do with the 10. We don't know what to do with the 90. And that's a problem. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Folks, give your love to Don here. Post any comments you want as we transition to our next presenter. But Don, again, listen, man, I really, really value what you shared here. We really need this information. As you said, God is a God of order. And you're right. Many people are only taught, and that's why I say it's not, it's just what it is. We're not saying the church is evil because they don't know it. It's just that this is what has been passed on to everyone. But isn't it true that, yes, all we do is talk about tithes and offering, and that's the majority of what you get from church. But if you want to know what to do with the 90, which is equally important, as you just said, I love the way you put that. We need to know what to do with the 90. No one teaches us that part. So we
That's
are
right.
good stewards. We give, but we are not experiencing financial blessings because it is not the giving that's destroying us. It's the 90% that we are not knowing how to handle.
Exactly. And
Wow.
so if we watch this, we don't need a lot of money to get out of debt. We need to eliminate the interest. And if we just pick up the fragments, gather up the fragments, that nothing be lost. If we do it right, we can have 12 baskets full of interest savings and be out of debt in an average of 7 to 9 years, not
Wow.
30 years to never.
Amen. And we can do a lot more with that interest and fund the work, like you say. And that's what we're all about, folks. That's why we, in the last days, think about what we can do with that. And we as remnant people understand this from a prophetic standpoint. That's why I believe it is very important for us to do this. Because think about all the monies we are putting into that interest. Imagine, not only the church, the members. So all of us combined, think about all the interest that we are putting towards a home or whatever that could be diverted into mission work and leaving that legacy that Philip talked about, not just a legacy for your family, but especially also taking care of yourself and family and funding kingdom ministries. That's a big reason why we should all get on this. Thank you so much. So David says, thank you for sharing your time and knowledge. Del Rose says, mind blowing. Yes, with an exclamation mark. Dr. Jeffrey Pascal, who's coming on as well. Jeff, by the way, you need to be logging in right now. Use your admin login, but he said great info. And Josephine says, thank you. This information has been such a blessing. I am blessed every time I hear it, Josephine. Thank you so much as well. All right, Don. So may God richly bless you. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, Pastor. I appreciate it. I'll hang out.
No problem. Okay, folks, remember you can go to his website, thepillmethod.com. Do that a little, fill out the information, get the cheat sheet, and also make sure you get the chapter of the book, or just go on Amazon and get it, because I really need you. And here's the thing. I'll be honest, seriously. If you are a young person right now on this broadcast, if you are a millennial, right, a young adult, a youth or a young adult on this broadcast, and you cannot afford that book, contact me. We will buy the book for you.
Wow.
Because I'm so serious. We need to get our young people on this too, because sometimes some folks feel they're so far gone. It's like, but we have to make sure our younger generation also. So I'm telling you right now, if you're a young person on this, if you're a teenager, early 20s, early 30s, and you simply do not have this money to buy this book, contact me right now. We make sure we get the book for you.
Pastor, may I take just 30 more seconds about
Go right ahead.
that have student loan debt? Don't be afraid of it. I have a niece that just graduated as a vet, and with several thousand, 400K in student loan debt.
Wow.
And with this program, will be out of debt with the income from her first job. Could be out of debt in under 7 years.
Amazing. Wow.
Because
that is mind-blowing.
Because of interest, she won't have to pay. I want to say hi to Dr. Pascal. I haven't seen him in a long time.
Alrighty. So let me cue it up to introduce Jeffrey here. And let me get back on screen here. All right, family. Here's what we're doing. So we're a little marathon, right? So please bear with us. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a break, to get a little stretch on right now. If you need a sip of water, do like me, get it close to you so you don't have to go too far. Amen. So I want you to get some water. I want you to be able to bring the kids. I want you to bring if you're a parent, a grandparent, and you have children, young adults in your home or whatever, send them this link if they're not with you. But if they are with you in the house, tell them, turn out the TV for right now and actually come and listen to this stuff, okay? Actually, when Don was on, even my wife and son was right there. They were right here in this room listening to that. That's why we took our camera off, because, because we need this information. Already, Sister the Duncan says, I have now ordered the book, Christmas Gift for the Kids. Yes, thank you so much. Add parents plus loans to that. Yes, all of that you can get help with there. Del Rose, Lionel, I need that student loan info. Yes, contact him. It really will turn your life around, and this is the kind of stuff we need. So let me talk a little bit about my friend, Dr. Jeffrey Pascal, and then we will turn the screen over. So, but while we're transitioning, I do want you to stretch. We got, what time is it now? It's 5:19, so we have about 1 hour and 40 minutes. Jeff, you can take some of my time if you need to as well, because I talk to these folks every Thursday, anyways, on my webinar. So I'm still going to give you content, don't worry. But I want to make sure you get these folks. Most of you on here, many of you on here, at least not everyone, but many of you are aware of who I am. So, and what we do. So, Jeffrey Pascal, I know we got to call him doctor, right? We were student missionaries together at Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama. That's where my wife went to school. We were part of a nonprofit organization called the National Association for the Prevention of Starvation. And so I get to interact with all these things, and that's why all these young folks, and that's why I'm so glad now, Jeff, because majority of them were bio majors, and all of them almost are doctors, whether they're dentists or some other kind of physician or something like that. So I have a big Rolodex of professional friends. But Jeff and I were, I used to do the canvassing work there. We used to do the spiritual director. But when Jeffrey came, he had this spirit about him. He was so sold out to Christ, sold out to the gospel, sold out to the idea of taking the gospel. That's the kind of way we had as young people. We believed that Jesus was coming in our day and we were going to tell everybody. And so we made him a leader right off the bat. And he was so knowledgeable in fundraising, and because he used to be a salesman, actually at a young age, Cutco, remember Cutco? And he was one of the top sales reps in that. So we made him to be in charge of our fundraising and canvassing. And man, that guy helped us raise so much funds for our mission and ministry. And then we would push our students to achieve greatness, so much so that it overflowed, right, Jeff? When we went to, we took the same attitude that we did in the temporal and put it in the spiritual. So when we went to Mozambique, for example, and Malawi, we were able to baptize over 1,000 souls plus. Mm-hmm. And Jeff and I were like not in competition, but we were pushing the borders. I would say, Jeff, we got another 100 souls, and he would reply, and it's like we set a small goal for everybody. And we were like go-getters. We said, no, we don't want the small goal. So we started pushing, and the Lord blessed us with so many souls. But that's the kind of faith that we had. So this young man is not just a doctor in the high-minded way. He is down to earth. He is Haitian by birth, and he loves God. And even now, of course, he's a graduate of Loma Linda University School of Dentistry, and he still does mission work. He still goes on missions up to this day. One of the things I love about him, even when I took a trip to California last January, I went to a 3-day conference. I needed a place to stay. And he and his wife is also a dentist, Claudie Pascal. So they put me in their place to stay, and I observed him. I said, wow, he has a busy schedule, but he finds time to read. Like right here. And he was reading all these books on finances. And remember now, he had not purchased a property at that point, but now he already has properties. So I want him today, of course, all of us can learn as well, but we have at least a younger person here today to help represent that even millennials too can get on the road to building wealth. We want you to know different things about money, not only the defensive, i.e. getting out of debt, but we need to play great offense as well, meaning we need to build wealth. And if we are going to do that, and as you can see, we are not here to just make us rich so we can be in luxury and forget about God's work. No, I think by now you understand your pastor's mission and why we are driven. We believe that we should make as much money as we possibly can so that we can fund the gospel. That's our main drive. And like we said, Dr. Pascal is still doing mission work. He finds time to go on missions. And many of our mission trips, folks, are to the tunes of 6 figures. So there's no way you can just simply say, give me a little $100 or $200. So we have to find entrepreneurial ways to be able to raise a lot of money, even beyond donations, to do the work of God. And now, with these strategies, maybe you can also apply them to build wealth, to get out of debt, to do all the things that Don has taught you today, and so that you can live a good life. That's what the legacy is all about. So without further ado, welcome my friend. And if you were in Texas, you would be my dentist as well. Welcome to Dr. Jeffrey Pascal. Take it over, Jeff.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me, Chance?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for that introduction. It was well thought, and like I said, Chance is a very good friend of mine, and I'm very honored to be his friend. He was a mentor, somebody I looked up to, and he also did my my pre-counseling for marriage for my wife and I, and so we really have a bond with Chance, and he officiated my wedding, so we go far back. And Don, excellent presentation. I first heard it like 10, maybe 12 years ago, and it's still awesome. And I think now I'm ready. I'm gonna give you a call and get started on that. So let's get started on the presentation. Okay. Can everybody Chance? Can you see the slide?
No, what you do is you click on the upper right hand next to the icon that looks like the mic is a screen share. It says turn screen on.
Okay.
There you go. Click on that, and then it should ask you, where you wanna, what screen thing you want to share. There you go. It's coming. And then, like Don pulled his up. There you go.
Okay.
Uh-huh. You can do hide, the little thing there, hide, not stop, but hide. There we go. Okay.
Okay. So you can see it now, right?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead. Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay. So I heard Chance called me a millennial, so I went and put on a tie and shirt and and a suit just so I don't seem too young. But yeah, so let's get started on investing in real estate. Okay, so my first question to the audience is, how many of you are paying rent or paying a mortgage? If you're paying rent or a mortgage right now, go ahead and put an R in the comment. Or if you're paying a mortgage, go ahead and put an M in the comment right now. Chance, I can't see the comment, so just let me know if people are commenting.
Okay, I'll do. I'll monitor it here. So, folks, go ahead.
All right. If you're paying rent, just go ahead and put an R, or if you're paying a mortgage, go ahead and put M. Or if you're paying nothing, put nothing.
Put N for nothing.
Yeah, put N for nothing.
So we have a combination here. Of course, I'm on the mortgage. Duncan's M, David R, Josephine M, Thelma M. So we have a mixture here.
Okay. So today I want to show you how to live for free and never pay rent or a mortgage again. And when I first heard about this information, it was mind-blowing. And not only did I heard about it, but I put it into action. All right. So just to give you a little background about myself, I am a real estate investor, a stock investor, a proud husband, online products creator, and a personal consultant and coach. Right now, I am in training to become an oral and maxillofacial surgery resident, which means that I am being trained in doing any type of surgery in the head and neck region, which is 6 more years after dental school. And it also includes a medical degree as well. I also did an oral surgery internship in 2018 in Dallas. I did an advanced education in dentistry in 2017. I graduated from Loma Linda University in 2016, and I graduated from Oakwood in 2012. And so I am a lifelong student. I've been in school forever, and it looks like I'll continue to be in school. So to give you a little more information, my family is from Haiti. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and right after I was born, I moved to Haiti with my mom and dad, and we lived there for 6 years. And during that time, Haiti had some political unrest, and in 1994, in Haiti, America came into Haiti, and we had a lot of different political battles between different groups. It was the American troops, the Haitian troops, and then it was the Liberation Army as well, trying to take down one of the political parties. And so because of that unrest, it also trickled down into my own family life, because my grandpa was associated with a political party, and my mom and dad's house got ambushed one day, where 4 to 5 or 6 men came into our house with guns, and they basically they beat my mom up, they beat me up with their fists. They shot my grandpa, and it was just a very, very hard time. I remember walking around in Haiti, and I would see the army truck goes by, and they would have people's heads on sticks. It was a very tough time for me to be as a 6-year-old, and especially during that time when my own house got ambushed. My mom and dad immediately sent my sister and I to Detroit, Michigan. So when we came to Detroit, Michigan, It wasn't the greatest lifestyle because my mom left everything in Haiti. She was an engineer in Haiti, came to America, barely knew English, and we basically was living in the attic space of my of one of my mom's sister's house, and we stayed there. My sister, my mom, and I, we all stayed in the attic. We slept on a full-size bed, all three of us, and we survived in the city of Detroit. We were on food stamps. I remember going to different like free food that my mom would take us to get like the turkeys at the church giveaway, or we would go to like toy drive so that we can get some toys. And so my mom, she struggled to give us a living, but she was making the best that she can do. One day, we were on a Pathfinder camping trip, my mom, my sister, and I, and for the weekend. And when we came back home, there was a lock on the door, and there was a message on the door saying that the lock has changed, and we were kicked out of the house, and all of our stuff was was outside. And for a brief moment, my mother started crying because we were homeless, and for that time, my mom didn't know what to do, and I would watch her struggle and thrive to make a living for my sister and I. And so we were in Detroit and had no place to go. My mom called around some church family, and thankfully they had a. It was in the not in the best part of the neighborhood, but we took what we had. And I remember that feeling of my mom not being able to provide a home for us, and it really, really affected me a whole lot. And so my journey into becoming financially free and becoming financially stable is to basically give my mom the life that she never had, so that she can for sure enjoy the rest of her life and just be proud of me. And I just want to continue to bring joy to her, continue to bring a smile to her. I am 6'4". My mom is 5'1". So I love taking these pictures with my mom when she just embracing me, and she's on my chest. And so that is my why into my journey of why I want to reach financial freedom. And that's why I'm really aggressive about financial, being on the offensive side, because of my mother and the sacrifice that she made. And so so why me? Why do you want to listen to me? Well, in the past 2 years, I've listened to probably over 1,000 hours of audiobook, blog, podcast. That's equivalent to about 35,000 pages or 70 books on financial freedom through real estate and stock market. And I'm going to break down to you what I've learned in 2 years in about 45 minutes, so that you can start investing in real estate as soon as you are done with this presentation. And so one of the verses that I really admire is in Proverbs 13:11. It says, "Wealth from get-rich-quick schemes quickly disappear. Wealth from hard work grows over time." I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be easy. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is going to take hard work. It's going to take, you're going to have to basically be in it for the long term. This is not the lottery. This is something that's going to, if you put the time into it, it can change your life. Okay, so today's discussion, we'll be going over a few things. We'll talk about credit score. I will talk about how to research a property for profit. What is house hacking? I'll talk about traditional renters versus non-traditional renters and common mistake. And we'll go over a case study of how I bought my first property. And say, so think about this thought. In investing, what is comfortable is really profitable. So investing what is comfortable is really profitable. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to get out of your nest, your bubble, in order to be profitable. You have to take risks, but you have to take calculated risks, risks that is going to be predictable, sustainable, and have good cash flow. This was something that it took a while for my wife to get comfortable with, but eventually, after talking and showing her all the numbers of how things can work, she became comfortable in investing in uncomfortable things. So just some basic principle, how property yields profit. 3 ways. One is through rental income. Rental income in any payment you receive for the use or occupation of a property. Future resale, such as a home resale value, is the amount it is expected to sell for at some point in the future. Many things, including any improvement made to the property and an overall age and condition of the home, can affect the resale value. Basically, doing it like a flip and flip. And then another one is a mixture of both. Get cash flow from rental income and then sell it in the future. The benefit of property investment, why it's a great investment option. One, you're going to get passive income versus getting earned income. You're going to get growth potential, stability, and its predictability. Before you invest, you have to make sure that you are ready to invest. One thing the first presenter said was that you have to be out of debt. You don't want to be investing if you have debt to invest. First, you need to get out of debt and then basically start investing. So, are you ready for property investment? You have to ask yourself that. And some of the prerequisites that when you're looking at property, you have to look at reliable cash flow. Again, thorough research, and you have to define your financial goal. My wife and I's financial goal is to become financially free in the next 7 years, which means that our passive income is going to surpass our active income, and that our yearly expenses will be covered by our passive income, meaning that we will have the option to quit working if we want to within 7 years. And so because of that financial goal, there's the different investment roadmap. For example, again, my big thing is research, preparation, and selection. And so you have to do your research. You got to be well prepared, and you have to pick the right property so that it can get you the best cash flow. There's another thought I want you to think about, is that your house is not an asset. It is a liability. I first heard this quote when I was in Dallas about maybe 8 years ago. I was a second year in dental school, and I wanted to know more about financial freedom. And so there was this mastermind group in Dallas where there was maybe 30 dentists over the age of 50 joining a mastermind group. And here I was, maybe 25, 26, with my wife in the group, and I was learning from this mastermind group. And one thing that said that your house is not an asset, it is a liability, which is from Robert Kiyosaki book, meaning that your house is a liability because it is basically it's taking money away from you. And so my thought was, how can I turn my house into an asset? And that's where we're going to start about my case study here. And so here on the left, you can see this is a 2-bedroom apartment with 1 bath, something similar that when Pastor Chance came over where he stayed at that time, we were living in a 2-bedroom, 1 bath with about 965 square foot. And about maybe 6 months later, we moved into a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom house, about 2,500 square foot in the suburbs of Redlands. And I want to show you how I did that and how I am not paying a single cent on the mortgage at all on this house. The house is actually paying me to live there. So first thing I had to do was to get my credit score together. My credit score 6 months before I bought the house was a 579, which is not great. But you can always do things to increase your credit score. And so if you're out there and you say, "Oh, I don't have the right good credit score," you can work on it. And like I did, I pushed my credit score from 579 to 752 because I had a goal, I had a determination, and I was trying to learn how to repair my credit. And so because I had a credit score of 579, I would reach out to a credit repair specialist because there was no way I thought I can fix my own credit. So here is an Instagram message all the way to the left. I found this guy on Instagram and I said, "Hey, how much do you charge?" And he said, "Dr. Jeff, I got three different packages. I will email you a welcome package for you to get the credit report I use, and I will do a free credit analysis for you. Send me your full name, email address, and phone number." And then he said, "We have 3 credit cleaning service designed for each person, $600, $1,000, and $1,500. I did not reply back to that person because I did not have that money. So then I reached out to another credit repair specialist on Facebook. I said, "Okay, this is a little bit cheaper." And I asked them, like, "Hey, I'm interested in hiring your service for my credit repair. I'm interested in your biggest package, the CEO package. I think it was about $1,000. I want to start in September. and I tried booking an appointment with her, but her calendar was full. I told her about my situation being in school debt and having student loans, and she messaged me back and told me the price, and that was the end of our conversation. And so then I went to Amazon. Like Chance says, I like to read, so I said I'm going to repair my own credit. So I went to Amazon. I bought a used book for $5.84. I read the book. It was probably 100 pages, and from that book, I learned how to repair my own credit. And as a result, my credit score went from 579 to 752, all from a book that cost $5.84. Like Chance says, my people have perished for lack of knowledge. And there you have it. You can always learn anything you want. And that's what I did. And so this was like a summary of the credit score cheat sheet. So the more credit you have and the less you use, the more trustworthy you look. Pay your account on time and make extra payment. Know where you stand, look for errors in your report, and keep your credit cards open. And another thing too is that you have to be patient. It took time. It took about 5 months to get my credit score to that level, but I knew that what I was doing was working. And so, yeah, so that's what's one thing. Okay, next thing is how do you find a property? So my wife and I, we did these things while we were looking for the property. Every Sunday, we would go to an open house. And in the open house, we would basically imagine ourselves in this place. And then we would put different scenarios of what we can do with the property. Not only that, we did not understand the language of real estate. The more we went to open house every Sunday, the more we learned about the different terminology that they were using. So we learned the lingo of real estate. And then we also went to network. As we went to these different open houses, we would talk to different real estate agents, and we would ask them, what do the banks look for when they want to loan someone some money for a house, or what do you recommend? And do you think this property will cash flow? And as we networked, we finally were able to find one of the best real estate agents that we work with right now. He is very awesome, and he understands our goals and our plan. And then we also had a plan to house hack. And so we went back and we studied and we researched so that we could basically learn about real estate and how we can implement the things that we were learning about. And so so there was two ways you can get a loan. One way is a FHA loan, and the other one is a conventional loan. There's so many different other programs, but these are the two ones that I was looking into. And initially, I was trying to get a FHA loan. An FHA loan basically has a credit score minimum of 500. And so that looked very attractive to me at that time because I had a credit score of 579. But if you have a credit score of 500, you have to put down 10%. A credit score of 580, you have to put down 3.5%. So I knew that I could get my credit score above 580. So I was looking forward to doing a 3.5% down. The loan terms are either 15 years or 30 years. And then because of the amount of down payment you put, you have a PMI, which basically means a mortgage insurance that you have to put down every month. And the interest rate was a fixed rate. The other one was a conventional loan, which required a credit score of 620 and above, and you could put down between 3 to 20%. Your loan terms are between 10, 15, 20, and 30, and you have a PMI of 0.55 to 2.225, and the rate can be variable rate or fixed rate. So initially, I thought the FHA loan was for me, but the mistake that I made was that I only worked on my credit, and I did not work on my wife's credit. And so because of that, the FHA loan not only looks at my credit, it also looks at your spouse's credit or anyone in the house. And so because of that, I had to go to the conventional loan. But by that time, I had a credit score above 750. And so the banks was willing to give me as much money as I need to buy any house that I want. They said that I even qualified for close up to $1 million house. And so what house hacking is basically, this is the real estate best kept secret of how you can get into your first home and pay no rent or mortgage. So house hacking is when you buy a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, and you live in one of the unit, and you rent out the other three. And so the other 3 units will basically be enough to pay for your mortgage and pay for your mortgage. and that's how you can live rent free or mortgage free. This looked more pleasing to my wife and I because we did not want to share our space with strangers. But however, we did not qualify for a multifamily home, and so we had to settle down for a single family home. But that didn't deter me from to still try to do a house hacking. We still kept on searching, and we came across this home here. And this home basically was the perfect floor plan for us to house hack. It's the same concept, but except that we had tenants living in the house with us. And again, you have to do things that are uncomfortable so that you can get things to be more profitable. And it's only for a temporary amount of time, which I had to say that to my wife. It's only temporary. But basically, this house was a 5-bedroom and a 4-bedroom house. And the way the floor plan was, it was that as if everyone had their own private entrance and their own bathroom. And it was so spaced out that we would never come across each other. And so it's basically as if we're living in a big apartment. And so that's how we were able to house hack. And if you want me to explain more of what house hacking is, you can just write a question, and then Chance, you can let me know if they have any question on that. And so to give you more information about my house, so we found the house, and we basically when we went to it, this was the house. It had green carpet. It looked old. The furniture was old. It had popcorn ceiling, and so we decided to do several things with this house. So this part of the house is a studio or a mother-in-law suite. So we transformed this house into a mini studio with a mini kitchenette that had its own entrance, and it had no access to our own dwelling. And we turned it into an Airbnb. And so this Airbnb, or this portion of the house, this 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, produced about $2,200 a month for us. Next, this was the bedroom upstairs. This bedroom was a his and her. Like it was a 2-bedroom and a 1-bath. And so we decided to transform this bedroom into like a mini apartment suite. We made one of the bedrooms into just a regular bedroom, and then another bedroom into a living quarter, and they had their own private bath. And we have a tenant here who's paying $900 a month just for this space here. And then the space downstairs which is a smaller space. Again, we renovated this whole entire spot, and we basically transformed this into a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and we charged $800 a month for this space. And so this house is actually paying me to live here. It makes about $3,900 a month. And even during the COVID-19, we were still able to get tenants. And my mortgage is about my PMI is about $3,200. So I'm making about $700 extra a month just because I live here. And just to give you, the type of tenants that we have. And so coming up in July, August, and September, we are renting out to to attending or to a doctor at the hospital, and they are paying close to $6,000 just to stay within our Airbnb for the next 3 months, which is great. And so we don't rent to regular tenants. We rent to health professionals, nurses, doctors, dentists, people who are traveling and needs a place to stay for a short-term period of time. And so we rent to them, and that's how we're able to get a high premium on rent. And these are the type of tenants that we have. Okay. And so some of the common pitfalls in real estate investing is failing to do your research. Again, you have to do your research. You just can't go out there and just buy property. You have to find the right location. Our location is perfect because it's close to the hospital. It's close to 2 different universities, and it's also close to the highway. So anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes, any nurse would like to stay at our place. And you don't want to be deciding with impulse. You want to take your time. You want to have your calculation ready, and you basically just want to have everything on paper, and it has to make sense. Another common pitfall is you're mismanaging your cash flow. So the cash flow that we get from our house, we put it back into our mortgage, and then the income that we earn, our earned income, we're also saving it to buy another property that we'll be buying within the next month. Our goal is to buy one property a month, which will basically cash flow at least $500 to $1,000 a month, which will help us reach our financial freedom state, so that we can eventually help my mom basically give her the life that I really want her to have. And another thing is self-managing instead of hiring. I did hire a lot of people to help me get this house for the interior design, an Airbnb specialist, someone to basically just to help me out with managing of this place. Okay. And again, if you want to learn more about how to house hack, how to never pay rent or mortgage ever again, I am doing an online course that you can have access to. The course is not completed yet, but this is a beta version of the course. And if you want to learn how to never pay rent or mortgage ever again, I recommend you click on the course that Chance will pull up. And I'll be doing a over the shoulder series, as I'm going to be buying my next property within the next 6 weeks. And I'll show you exactly my thought process and what I'm thinking, and how basically to have this place cash flow and location and Airbnb and different aspect of it. Thank you for your time.
All right, you can keep the slide up. We do have a few questions, but keep the last one up there for now, so we have a backdrop. Okay, I'm going to take a few quick questions. For those of you who do want to click on the course, you can do that right below here, right below this video. You should see it says enroll in course, so you can go ahead and check that information. I am going to put the link. I'm getting the link in just 1 sec, and then I'll put that link there for you. Question, let's take a few real quick. I'm going to blast them onto the screen here real quick, or broadcast them on there. Let's start with Lionel. Lionel's question is, what do those numbers look like for the house? For example, debt service versus rent.
Debt service versus rent?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to elaborate there. The numbers, I don't know which numbers in particular, but maybe the parts where you were talking about how much it brings in.
Yeah, so the house brings in at least $3,900, sometimes even more. My mortgage with my insurance, if the interest paid and the principal, comes up to about $3,200. And so $3,900 of that pays the mortgage at $3,200, which leaves me about $700, which just goes into paying the utilities, the Wi-Fi, the cleaning, and everything else. And then on top of that, then we're living for free. We're not paying any bills. And then whatever my wife makes and whatever I make goes into whatever next investment we want to do.
Well, that's definitely living up to the title of this stuff, right? Because all your expenses are covered, and you're able to pretty much, like you said, live free. And I saw the next property, which is Clutch. It looks like something my wife want to be doing in the, what you call that, in Tennessee, those cabins kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, I didn't know they have those where you at there either, but that's a great one. Let's take the next question. And it is from Josephine. I think Josephine and Martha has a similar question. Josephine's question is, what do these people do for a kitchen? And Martha's was, this is a great concept, but what about the kitchen use?
Yes. So luckily, all of our tenants are like medical professionals, and so they are barely home, like myself. And so we do have a kitchen that is access to everyone. Everyone has their own refrigerator. We have a bigger fridge in the garage for the tenant that lives downstairs, and then the Airbnb, they do not have access to the kitchen. They have a little mini kitchenette inside their Airbnb, so they have their own kitchen, own fridge, own microwave, their own stove induction, or their own little oven, and so they don't have access to that. And then our tenant upstairs shares a fridge with my wife and I. And so we have a lot of cabin space too. And so this allows us to share cabin space. But luckily, the type of tenant that we screen are people who work a lot, such as nurses, doctors, attendings, students. And so the kitchen is actually rarely used in our house. But again, you can always, if you don't want to share a kitchen with your tenant, you can always do the duplex, the triplex, or the fourplex, where you have your own unit, and they can have their own their own space in their own little mini apartment that you own.
Right.
And,
I'm glad you clarified that too, because again, it's the concept is there, and this is just how it played out. Because you were also looking at the multifamily unit, right?
yes,
You
yeah.
didn't get that, so you using the same idea from that and morph it into your house.
Yeah. And if anyone, if you ever want a tour of how I do it, is the way the house is laid out is very spacious, and it gives everybody their own space, and we're never running into each other. We do have one of our tenant, one of the nurses. She do use the tent. She do cook a lot in there. But again, like I said, we're never running into each other and stuff. But if you don't want to share at all, then you can always do a multi-unit, which can work well too.
Awesome. And again, folks, here's the thing. Again, we are just sharing different concepts, and we're giving you options. Some of these things we don't even think about. But the idea is, again, you have knowledge, and we have different presenters. And so what can work for you, you work it. But we have to be thinking along these lines. And not only that, but like I said, some of you can get your children onto this, your young people onto this, your husband, your wife, whomever, who have the knack for it, because we have to begin thinking. And that's what I'm saying. You don't never know how your path will change over time. Like you said, some people lose jobs. You didn't plan for being laid off. You didn't plan for your health failing. And now we need an income. So having these things is crucial.
Yeah, and it's very doable. I mean, I work about 80 hours a week. Like last week, I probably got like 20 hours of sleep just because I was working in the hospital, like for the whole entire week. And the hospital was still making money without me doing anything. I barely do anything to the house to get it to cash flow. And you have to be creative too in order to get this high rate of return. And so if you have a fourplex, you can do one plex that's just a traditional renter. Then you could do another plex that's that you can do to traveling nurses or traveling doctors, and then you could do one that's to Airbnb, and then you can live in one. And it doesn't take that much time to keep up or to manage these properties. Again, my wife and I, we are very, very busy, but yet everything runs well.
And like I said, this well, I mean, he's a doctor, but he's younger than I am. And here's the thing. One of the things I'm telling you this because sometimes I'm saying we look for excuses rather than solutions. Some of us make excuses for ourselves. Here's something interesting, folks. Jeffrey, Dr. Pascal, 3 years ago, when I was writing this book, Monetize Your Skill, remember, I paid for a seminar, an event in California, your neck of the woods, that I could not attend. I called up Jeffrey. I said, Jeffrey, I already paid for this stuff. I need to at least get some knowledge out of it. Can you go there and find me one person? Because my goal for going there, I was writing this book, and I needed to interview some people who were making a lot of money, because that's what this book is about, how to take your skills and talents and do that. So Jeffrey, you remember this lady, you went there and you found a lady called Sue Oyuela.
Yes.
Right. And she was doing Airbnb. Now this was 2016, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Sue Oyuela was making six figures, over $200 and something thousand doing Airbnb from one house primarily, and then she started using other people's house and monetizing their own house technically for them. And so now, isn't it strange now? Well, not strange, but now you come full circle. Now you are doing Airbnb as well.
Yes, yeah. It's a great platform. It's not going anywhere. It changed the hotel industry, and it's changing how we it's a disruptor of how we travel now. And when I travel now, I go on my Airbnb app to look for housing, and I don't mind paying a premium for it because it gives me a little extra more than a hotel. And yeah, and so it's it's a great way to make extra money, and it's something that my wife and I were gonna use to the max, especially this next property we're gonna buy. It has 5 acres of land next to a river with a log cabin, and we're gonna be building another cabin and probably some shipping container homes on that property to basically help us reach our financial freedom goal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Lena has an interesting comment here. He says, let's see here. Lena says, I just established an Airbnb management company here in Houston, so was wondering the best route to work it right now. I like the corporate focus. It seems as if it would be stable, focusing on that type of clientele. And I guess we'll talk about that too. In many things, business and otherwise, you need a niche, right? So you decided to go on that niche. So talk about that too, because you're right. You want to find people based on the type of houses and the type of thing you're doing. Find the customers who can pay that or something.
Exactly. Yeah. And so so when you do your Airbnb description, you kind of you're trying to attract the person you want to come to your property. And so we didn't want 18-year-old or young people coming to our property throwing parties. We wanted professionals that come to our property. So when we did our description, we kind of try to attract family or attract professionals to come to it. And also we price it at a point where you have to be a professional to pay for it. Basically, one of my attendants or my boss, he basically was looking at my property and he said, "Oh, you're only charging $150 a night. That's it." And he said, "I thought something was wrong with the property because it was going for for cheap, actually. But actually, I'm charging the most in my city." But his mindset was that if it's that cheap, then something must be wrong with it. So there are people out there who are willing to pay the premium price for a property as long as you deliver on your content. And so so you can attract those type of people. You just have to price it correctly, and your description and we put a lot of money into it too as well. I mean, we hired a specialist, an interior design, and these different things because we know the type of people that we wanted. One time we had low bookings, and I said, "Oh, let me decrease my nightly booking rate," and it immediately got booked. And my wife and I, we immediately regret the booking because it wasn't the type of person that would appreciate the type of thing that we bring to the property. So we definitely kept it back up. And now, since the coronavirus, the restrictions has lifted, we have basically an attending who's coming to live in our place, and she's paying like $6,000 for 2 months, which is way more than,
Awesome.
So you just have to basically think about your people that you want to, and in my course, I'll go over how to attract the right type of client, because, we are very selective because we're living with these people and my wife is here. And so I make sure that, we get good quality people that stay with us, and they appreciate it too.
Awesome. Well, of course, folks, we only have a certain amount of time to go through a lot of some of these things. I want to put a lot of this in perspective. I'm going to come, of course, and give my presentation in a moment. But one of the things you want to think about, we have to think differently. When you think of investing in yourself, in your education and knowledge, we sometimes look at it as an expense. No, it's an investment. Mm-hmm. And you have to look at it because sometimes we can try to figure out, we go all through these neck of the woods. But like, for example, okay, he is bringing his time and expertise on here. It's not something, it's theory, it's something he's doing. Sue Oyuela, for example, who I interviewed her in this book. Jeff met her. She's doing multiple 6 figures, probably 7 figures now. And she has a course like his. But again, it's always $2,000. So that's what, and we like, it costs this amount of money. No, folks, knowledge and information is valuable because what you can do with it For example, he's making cash flow there. The course pays for itself immediately. Some of the courses, like I said, when I even for him to go interview Sue Oyuela, I had to pay. It wasn't free. I couldn't go, but they didn't say, well, since you can't come, let him come for free. No, I had to still pay the cost. I have courses on my stuff here. This one course here about marketing stuff, I paid several $100s for that. There's another one on there for digital marketing. I paid $12,000 for that. Yes, your pastor did pay $12,000 for that particular course. The reason is because it's valuable. And that's why sometimes it's hard for me to express to you what needs to be done, because it's like, oh, well, pastor only know or should be doing this one thing. But no, like Jeff said, we've been used to reading and studying. We parlay on so many different things. And I have to connect with successful people because the things that I'm trying to do outside the walls of the church requires connections and means, and you have to invest in them. So I have so many different courses. Just actually last week with someone there, we were able to get a course for $4,000, right? To allow us to 6 months access of this person's expertise. So how is it? Oh, who's gonna pay $4,000? Well, we were able to do that. You know why? Because it is important. I have my wife right now because I know this is important. I bought another course from another gentleman who has a PhD in finance. Now, PhD, he was the first African American in this country to get a PhD in finance. Was making multiple six figures teaching at a university. He didn't like what was happening there. Started his own business educating African Americans. So I just bought an investment course from him, and I tell my wife she needs to study it because I don't have time to study it all. But my point though is, if God's people would realize, the Bible says something interesting: buy the truth, but do not sell it. But somebody had to sell it, right? He said, buy the truth because it's valuable. And when you invest in something that is valuable, that's what you can pass on. And I'm also building a library for my son because I know these are the things that you would not get in a classroom. I told you, my background is in business. I have a bachelor's in business and management. I have a master's in project management. I do doctoral work in Christian entrepreneurship. You don't get this kind of a stuff in those classes. What Dan spoke about, I never learned in any class. I only took one finance class actually in my undergraduate program, right? And that's because I purposely picked that. And it was about personal investing, right? And I didn't do anything with it at that time. So I want you to value knowledge, value information. Don't buy frivolous stuff. Buy stuff that will set you free. Again, Bob Marley was a theologian. Some will think that's blasphemy, but he said this, Jeffrey: emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Only you can free yourself. So that's why I'm here trying my best to come on every Thursday to bring people, to bring knowledge, to bring this kind of stuff to some of our people, to show them there's a different way, because many of us are praying, God help me, we are struggling, but it's not because God don't want to free you. The point is there's a system and a strategy to everything. And so it's time for you to learn those strategies. Like Jeff says, buy a book. Buy a book. Every minute I'm buying books. I got several new books right here. Traffic, how to get traffic online to your store, to your website, to your ministry, all of these things here. Why? Because no one will teach it to you. But you can go on Amazon and get the same knowledge and information. Anything else you want to share, Jeff? And I will throw this one more out there. Don't want to steal your thunder. If, again, there is a young person, now this one here, you definitely, because if you're 30, you should have your job, right? But if there's a young person who is a teenager, and between any from the teens, from 13 to 23 years to 21, let's say 13 to 21 years old, and you want to get in this course and you don't have the money, I will cover your fee for the course. Okay? If there's a young person on this presentation listening to me right now, because I want to liberate our young people as well, because many of them are going to go to school, get into all this debt, and they don't have a way. You have to have your own multiple streams of income. You cannot depend on one job right now in this climate and into the future. Jeff is working. He's a dentist. We all know dentists got to make six figures. His wife is a dentist, and yet they have multiple streams of income. What does that tell you? That's wisdom. That is wisdom. So we have to begin thinking, whether it's Airbnb, whether it's investing, but find some avenue to begin liberating yourself. Jeff, any closing remarks there?
Yes, just go out there and just strive, and don't settle for mediocrity, and just just think about you can do it. You just have to take a step forward, and just have faith in God, and take calculated risks and stuff. And so that's my closing thought. Again, this course it'll go live in about 2 months, September 1st. And this price is just for Chance's group. And so you have access now, or you have the opportunity now to get into it, especially now that I am in the process of getting my second property. And so you can see me live going on, talking to the real estate agent, to the bank, to the appraisal. You can see exactly what I'm thinking about, seeing the vision, which is to me it's invaluable, because you get direct access to basically how to go about getting your first rental property and never pay rent again. Again, thank you, Chance, for this opportunity. I really appreciate it, and you're doing a very, very great work for your church members and for people out there.
No, thank you. Appreciate you. Appreciate your drive. You're a very good role model. You're a decent Christian. It's good to know decent people. So we appreciate you, and give Claudia our best. Tell her we are thankful that she gave you this time to be free, so we can have some of your time. Now you're free to go back to her.
Okay.
All right. God bless you, brother.
Thank you.
Well, all right, Saints. We have just one more. I'm just going to wrap it up here with one final presentation. Take all that you've learned today. It's an eye-opening experience. This is a practical way for us to finish our series on finances. Doesn't mean we're not going to talk about it ever again, but there are other things that we are going on to. So again, we started the year off of, we did 24 presentation in the beginning of in March. We started out, we did Final Empire, we did Discovering Revelation, 24 messages about spiritual health, spiritual preparation. Then we did a 5-week workshop where we brought on experts, some locally, some from different places. And we talked about mental and emotional wellness. If you guys remember that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you remember that. But we did that because, again, we're trying to empower people. This series now was dealing with our our financial health. And those are some of the goals that we had at the church. We did wanted to do an 8-week Even Dave Ramsey course for some of us who would like to attend, but again, we couldn't do that. But nonetheless, hey, we did several sermons. Brother Westerman and myself did some sermons on finances, and now today you had 4 hours worth of information. Okay, so we have some extra time here. Let's see what I got here. Okay, 6:13. So I want to give you another thing to consider. And here's the thing again. You use what you can. What you can't, it's okay. At least you're exposed to possibilities, and now we can begin to think about what's possible and what's out there. Because I believe that when I pray and I ask God to help me with something, He's going to give me a wisdom or a knowledge or revelation of some sort to get that thing done. It could be in the form of a person, some help. That's what seeking is all about. Some book, some course, some expert, someone's experience, so that I can do the thing. Because sometimes we think that God is going to come down from heaven and do the thing for us. Yes, He does, but He works through people. And when He works through people, men and women must use things that are in their world, systems and processes, to accomplish whatever God has put in our hearts to do. So that's why you should not just pray, God, give me money. Because if you do that, now God is going to say, what vehicle are you going to use to get this money? Because He's not going to rain it out of the sky. He has a plan, a system, a strategy, because others are having monies all the time. And you and I, most people are just have one job, so we are asking for extra ways. And these are some of the extra ways. So you just find one or two or three or whatever it can be, and you implement that. And that is the way God can help provide for you. Same thing with health, whatever it may be. But that's how on Thursdays, that's how we try to help us to think and to see how to take the Bible and the principles therein and apply them into these different areas. So let me bring up my slide real quick. I really thank you all for your work here and your time here as well. So I'm going to take off Dr. Pascal's course. Again, the link is in the description, plus right below this video. Let me leave it up for a little bit there anyways. Let me leave that up right there. So I want to talk to you about, and again, post any questions here. I'm versatile to be able to interact with the chat at the same time, okay? So you are not disturbing me at all. So I want to talk to you, and I'm going to give, by the way, I'm going to give all of you who attend here, provided you sign up so your email is on the thing, you all are going to get a copy, a digital version, that is, of this book, Monetize Your Skills, okay? You're going to get a copy of this book, Monetize Your Skills. This is a book where I interviewed, it sprung out from my master's degree. Instead of doing a thesis, I chose to do a project because at that time I realized that one of the challenges that people have is that they're struggling. And by the way, are you aware that many students go straight to graduate school and keep getting education because of the job market? Some people don't have employment even though they are well educated. So it was during that season I noticed that trend, but then I noticed an equal important trend that many people were utilizing the power of the internet to make 6 and 7 figures by just using, whether it's their education, their expertise, and experience they have. So in other words, you don't have to have degrees and credentials. You know, let's say you know how to, you've lost weight. I saw people who were becoming coaches, teaching and coaching people how to lose weight. Some people are writing books. Some people are doing that. They don't have any credentials. There's some people went through divorce and then they were teaching others and doing those stuff. And so I interviewed, my project was to interview at least 100 people. I interviewed 110 at that time. And I studied them. I recorded some of them. That's why with Dr. Pascal, I needed him to go find Sue Oyuela over there because I wanted to have a perspective. Like Airbnb was still fairly kind of new at that time. And so all of these people from different industries, and the vast majority were not well educated in the sense of academics. The vast majority of the people I interviewed were making 6 and 7 figures without a degree because of the power of technology and the internet utilizing these basic things. So I wrote my paper there. It was very well accepted. It was, I graduated with a 4.0 GPA. Now, here's the thing. So I said to myself, after I learned all of this, what am I going to do with this information? All of this is what these people are doing, pretty much selling their knowledge and expertise in products and programs. Why don't I do the same thing? Because nobody's really going to read my my project in a university library. That's what most people do, work all these years, write dissertation, and it just sits there and hardly anyone really reads it. So I'm like, why don't I sell the recordings that, because that's what some people do. They're selling audiobooks, videos, all these things online. So I said, you know what? Let me just put it up and see what happens. So the recordings that I did with these interviews, people I interview, I just, put them together and say, hey, you wanna buy it? And I put a price on there. I started out with $97. And then someone from New Zealand bought the course. I'm like, hold on. People really value this stuff. So I said, well, let me drop the price. I put it at $49. People bought it. I put it at $25. People bought it. So I said, well, what would happen if I also add the transcripts of the interviews and then take out some of the jargons and just throw my own thing in there? And then I put it for $497 bucks. And then I posted it on Facebook. I made a blog post. I posted on Facebook and someone bought it. Then someone bought it for that price, and then they asked me, can I coach them? So I said, well, I can coach you, but I'm busy. How about $1,000 for 4 hours, and I'll come to your place. Well, I could have done you know, they were local. I could have done the phone thing or something. I said, well, no, I'll come to you, and for 4 hours, I will show you how to do it, because I studied it. I wrote the paper on it, and they paid me $1,000 to do it. So I'm like, man, this thing is crazy. So that's really where I start doing this stuff. So I said, you know what, every Thursday, I'm just going to teach people about different aspects, and I started interviewing more and more people. I had a Facebook Live every Tuesday that I was doing with a lady who retired, who is 60-something years old, but was also, again, in the same digital space. Now she is traveling the world. She lives in Colombia right now, and this is how she's using the internet to make her living. So let me share with you a few of the ideas and concepts on what you can do, or if you're a young person, you can do that on the side. Okay, we're not saying it's just like, for example, me, I can't go out there and get a second job. You know, it wouldn't work for me. But this doesn't take away from my time. I can do this, and that's why I tell you I would pay $12,000 to learn how to advertise online, right? Because that means I don't have to leave where I'm doing. I can just create ads on Facebook, and I can promote my things. Voila. Voila. So let's look at a few things here and see what we say. Now, so this is a 7-step framework. It's called Monetize Your Skills. And the idea is taking your knowledge, your education or expertise and experience, and turn them into products, programs, and services. Online primarily. Of course, you can do it in person. You can do, let's say, like I said, for example, there are people who are good at braiding here. You know, some folks braid their hair. You can teach a course online on how to braid here. You get, let's say you charge, like, you know, Dr. Pascal is doing. If you charge $200 for that course and 10 people bought it, how much money did you just make? Right? That's some people's salary for an entire month right there with just 10. Like I told you, someone bought my course for $497. What if I sold 10 people that particular month? How much money would that be? Right? I tell you what, that would be way more than what we would even need sometime to live in, especially where we live in South Texas. So the reason, though, because I'm a pastor, I'm a minister, I'm a missionary, my point, though, is to share this in a Christian context, because I want people to use these type of things, like what Brother Philip talked about, what Don Daniel talked about. The idea is not just to enrich yourself, though that can happen, but because that's what the world is doing. And that's why I don't understand why Christians and faithful people don't embrace some of these things while the world is doing them and making 6 and 7 figures. And we who have kingdom agenda, that's why this whole thing is called biblical finance, right? Kingdom principles. If we can do that, then we can use this extra revenue to, one, get out of debt. And we've been preaching that like crazy, right? I am so loud that that's one of the biggest things we need to do right now. Then we can invest in the kingdom, because trust me, we are not giving enough monies to do God's work. We are not giving enough monies to do God's work. Right now, even we are laying off workers right now because of constraints. I mean, you know, but the point is, the reason why we are not giving is because we ourselves are crunched economically. But God's people don't have a plan, because all we know on finances is generally relegated to, again, tithes and offerings. If we would learn some of these other things, then we can do it. And so, again, if you are here, it may not be your cup of tea, but why not expose your young people to it? Why not, again, expose your niece, your nephew, your cousin, your brother, someone, you know, your child, grandchild, whomever it may be. You can say, hey, learn this, because that's their world. That's their world. Okay. So like Don says, you know, I've published 12 books right now. It's a new day. Some people think you have to do all these crazy things like in the old ways. No, technology is what allows me to produce books fast. Right now I'm working on another book. How do you have the time? I said, how don't you have the time? Not how do you have the time or where do you find the time? I'm saying, how with technology can we not find the time to do these things? Why? Because it is super easy. Gone are the traditional old ways, spending months and so many even years writing and publishing books. For example, I'm just showing you books is one way, but I'm going to show you how people use books to be able to make a living and also create some extra income and get extra business. So this is a book, like you see here, it was promoted #1 bestseller in 3 different categories here, but actually 12 different categories total. So each of these books, that's a skill that I learned. How did I learn it? Now, on my first own, I was learning how to publish book, how to design, how to do all that stuff. It took me 5 years to publish my first book, you see? But once I learned different things now, I was able to do it faster. Now I have 8 different ways in order to write and publish a book. 8 ways, not just one, but 8 different ways. So that's what we say, and you learn a skill. And then I did not know, because I was just writing book for fun and for sharing, like stuff that I would do and preach about. And then I realized that it's not just writing the book, like you got to sell it, because, I'm a Christian and, sometimes we have uncomfortable about the money. So I never was selling the book. I was giving them away for free, but it was costing me money to produce them, So I said, well, I need a course to teach me how to sell the book. So I went and bought a course for $2,000. Now, here's the difference. Now, again, here's what I'm telling you now, right? Why I invest in these things. You might say, oh, that's a cost a lot of money. Hear me out here. 5 years to write my first book. I didn't have a lot of strategies. Then none of my books that I had, before I took the course, none of the books that I wrote were bestsellers. None of them. Some were selling. Okay, you make sales, but I'm talking about from Amazon, where you can rank and show like proof here, where this book, for example, President Move Heaven, here's another book that I promoted, became a #1 bestseller, and my book, Monetize Your Skills, became a #1 bestseller in multiple categories. But here's the thing. Every book that I promoted after I got into that course became a bestseller by default. Every single one. Why? Because I now knew the way to do it. Everything is a system and a process. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. It was what I did not know that was costing me time and money, because I didn't know how to become a bestseller. No one taught me. Like I said, you can't find some of this stuff in a school, in class. So I had to go pay someone who was doing that, because, again, I saw them advertise on Facebook. And when I took the course, like I said, now it's so second nature that even people pay me and ask me, can you help my book to become a bestseller? Even my brother, Don Daniel, like his book did better than mine, but I did not charge him anything. He's a brother in Christ. I know what he's doing. I said, Don, let me show you what you can do to get your book to rank, for example, even #1 in Adventist category. I just did 2 simple little tweaks to his books. And I say, you're going to use this. I created the graphics, everything myself. I say, use this, tweak this, do this thing here. When Don did that, in no time, his book became a #1 bestseller in different categories. And one in particular, his book became a #1 bestseller for Seventh-day Adventists in the finance category. Why? Strategy. What I knew. See, I could have charged him because I have that knowledge. It didn't cost me any more. It didn't take away from my duties as a husband, as a pastor. No, why? Because everybody can read a book. Everyone can read a book. God give us knowledge. And that's why people are perishing spiritually, because they're not reading the Bible. Everything, do you realize that you have the same access to God as a pastor, as the General Conference president, because you have the Bible? But what separates the pastor from the average layperson or anyone else? It's simply the fact that he or she spends more time in the Bible, and they learn. That's why some of them, they learn the basic principles of hermeneutics, how to interpret scripture, and homiletics, how to preach. But if you took the same course, which you can do, by the way, even for free online, guess what? You can preach sermons probably better than the preacher, better than myself, because I do what I can do by God's grace. Okay? So, because of this, some people contact me, and I'm able to do things outside the walls of the church to be a blessing, not a curse or disguise, but to actually be a blessing. Like here in the Valley, I was able to speak for NHPO, the National Hispanic Professional Organization, as a pastor. Why? They didn't call me because I'm a preacher, because they want to hear me preach the Bible. You know why they call me? Because the director of education got a copy of my book, Monetize Your Skills, and he said, we need you to come and talk about this. That's the influence. Now I was able to go there, and now while I'm there, now I can connect with them. Not only that, but the director of education came to All Nations, and guess what? Even me, I did not even know that man lived not too far from All Nations Church. He said, I never even know your church is here. Why did he come? Because I was able to connect with him, but I didn't connect with him simply because I was taught in scripture. I connected with him because I was able to leverage my knowledge, and they value the knowledge. Now you can give them the gospel. Already? Now, here I am with some people who are multimillionaires. This is Adam Ginsberg. He is one of the top internet multimillionaire when it comes to eBay and Amazon. Then in the middle is Dr. Willie Jolly. Some of you might know him. He's the number 5 outstanding speaker in the entire world by Toastmasters International. On the right category is someone I interviewed actually in my book. And here's the thing. How did I have to get to her too? I had to go to one of her seminars to get access. But she is a Christian, godly woman. She was in ministry for 40 years. After that, she said, God told her that in order for her to make an impact at her age now, she needed to get into the business world because that's where the movers and shakers are. She said, God, I don't have no business knowledge. How can I, I only know godly stuff. I've been in ministry 40 years. He said, like Jeffrey, he said, go do real estate. She went into real estate. She sold her first couple $1 million. And now everybody wants her to speak. Do you know what she does after every seminar? Now she does teach all the people how to make money, how to become successful. But at the end of every presentation, she shares the gospel. And what she shared with me and Dr. Willie Jolly is this. They have led thousands of Christian businessmen to Christ who would never have come to Christ otherwise because of they don't go to the church. But they would come to a conference to hear about finances. That's what we are saying. Not only finance, I'm just saying anything. When you put these things out there, God will use you to reach people, because today people are not really feeling the church per se. As an overall kind of a thing. But when you are able to do other things, now you can meet them where they are because they're hurting. So, but what they want to hear is how to be successful. Does the church teach millennials how to be successful? No. That's why they go and get all the secular knowledge, and then that corrupts them. But we're not giving them it. And that's what they need. So we have to take the Bible, and that's why I've been preaching lately and saying we cannot be doing malpractice. We have to teach the whole counsels of God. We have to teach spirituality, health, faith, finances, success, marital blessings, all of these things, because they're all in the Bible as well. And that's what the young people need. Because how are they going to succeed in their career? Christian, well, we don't have anything in the Bible about how to succeed in your career. Yes, we do. And if we don't give it to them, then they adopt worldly philosophies and ideologies. And guess what? Then they become the leaders of the church. And now they bring in the worldly philosophies, mingling it with the Bible. And now that's how we get problems. Okay? So don't be afraid of spreading your wings. That's why I believe, for me, the members in our church, I so wish that so many of them are in business, right? Even in our own congregation. Think about it. How many of our people in our congregation are in business? We should have a seminar that gives them financial advice from a biblical perspective, because they are in the business world. But we don't have such a thing. We don't have such a thing. So that's why I try to do that. But you have an opportunity, because here's what other people do. How many of you know John Maxwell? Many of you might have read a book by John Maxwell in the past. And so when people, this was the question I asked for my research project, right? How is it that people are wealthy? Because some of us, we want the wealth, but we don't know how to gain the wealth. Well, I'm going to reveal to you why is it that John Maxwell and all of these other successful people are wealthy. Now look at it, right? What do you see on this particular slide? What is common on this slide? Here's another individual. Les Brown. How many of you have read a book by Les Brown? The first success book that I've ever read was Live Your Dreams by Les Brown. I was in the military. This is what got me hooked on personal and professional development. When I started reading Les Brown book, I set a goal and I read 75 books in 1 year. Inspiration. But Les Brown is a multi-millionaire. Why is he a millionaire? Well, look at the things on the screen here, okay? Let me give you another one. Notice the different aspect. This is Amy Myers, Dr. Amy Myers, who is a medical doctor, already having success, because most medical doctors definitely make 6 and 7 figures, okay? They generally take home 6 figures, but here's the thing. Their whole practice made 7 figures. Why then would she be doing other things beside her job? She's building wealth. But how is she building wealth? She's making more money with these things than she is on her job. This is Nick Nanton. This is a lawyer. So you see, it doesn't matter what your background is, right? You have John Maxwell, faith-based, leadership. Amy Myers, health, medical. Nick Nanton, lawyer. And yet, even as a lawyer, he's doing this and he's making 7 figures, multiple 7 figures a year doing this stuff. Then we have Dr. Clarice Fluid. I just shared with you her, but notice her page. Why is she there? Then this gentleman here named Bob Cattell, who is a memory expert. I also interviewed him. Well, if you read his bio, this man sells millions of dollars from the stage in 1 hour speech. Okay? But his job and his expertise is really training people how to develop a strong and solid memory. That's his job, folks. That's his job. And what did he do? He turned it into a book. He turned it into a course. And of course, the more people he reach, the more that he's able to be blessed. This one right here is in Texas. Okay. The Eventual Millionaire, I have her book right on top here, Jamie Masters. I also interviewed her. Jamie Masters was making 6 figures, but she was over $70,000 in debt, right, with a bachelor's degree. Then she says, well, I can't keep this like that. And she wanted freedom. You know what she did? She started a podcast. And right there, if you see the 350, that means she interviewed 350 millionaires, their secrets. Now, here's the thing. The podcast is free. But people began paying her because she was associated with all these millionaires. And then she became an eventual millionaire. She published a book, Eventual Millionaire. And here is that's what the podcast is. But she gives a podcast, interviewing people. Every young person today and everybody on this one can actually start a podcast for free on iTunes, on different stuff out there, Anchor. Look, brother, Ben Valdez just started a podcast. You just share what you know. Here's another one. Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson, PhD, one of the few people who had a doctoral degree in my sample. Very few. I think actually she might be the only one that Dr. Peter Walker, I interviewed him as well. But again, it was a handful of people who had these type of degrees. But here's the thing. Susan Pierce Thompson, she struggled with losing weight. She couldn't lose weight herself. And she was, again, her background is in the mind and neuroscience type of thing. And so she figured out a way to get people to lose weight, but it has nothing really to do with all of the dieting per se. Now, she creates something called Bright Line Eating, but what she discovered really is the way people think is why they are not really losing the weight. So once she helps them with that now, and here's the thing, what she did, she created a course, this Bright Line Eating course, and she's able to do over $2 million a year. She has more people that she impacts in the online world than she does as a professor. So, okay, she was a professor, but of course, her business became so successful with one online course, by the way, not 10, 20, one online course, Bright Line Eating. And she's able to do so much. She does over $2 million a year. Okay. Here's another one. April Yvette. Bad relationships, went through so many different things. Pretty much was making $9 an hour. But again, she's a woman of faith, woman of God. And again, same thing. God gave her an idea. You have to do something different. So she got into real estate. She made $9 million in real estate. Everybody now wants her knowledge and expertise. So she began to put books and courses together. Are you beginning to see the picture? This is the way the online works. And this is the way where most of the people you know who are successful, if you've read any one of their books, this is why they are successful, and this is why you know them. But Picasso says action is the foundational key to all success. Many people know, but we don't do. And that's also in the faith base. Many people know the words of Christ, but they don't implement it. And that's where we are suffering. That's why the scripture is saying, my people are not, destroyed for lack of knowledge. But the idea, you have to read the second part. It's not it's not the lack of knowledge itself. It is the lack of the application of the knowledge that really is why the people are destroyed. Because the knowledge is there. Even the Bible said knowledge shall be increased, but we are not utilizing knowledge and strategies. So that's why I'm telling you, if you ask God to help you economically, you must implement some form of knowledge or strategy, a system or process. It's not just going to happen by wishing and hoping for it. Now, God can do some things like that, but that's not how he operates. That's not how he operates. God works with systems and processes because God is a God of order. So we must find out something that we can do to be able to grow like that. Okay, let's go back here. So real quick, let's breeze through this here. We have 19 minutes here. So the 7 steps that you will go through. I have a comment here. Barbara says would have liked to have this info. Yes, Barbara. I mean, we all wish we have it. But now you can have someone else have it and you can pass it on, or the thinking, because Barbara, what I believe is the thinking. It's the thinking is what makes the difference. Because if we, I have to always say I need to have a different frame of mind, because if we think we can't, we won't. And if we make excuses for why we can't, then we won't never move in that direction. So every knowledge is not for us either. But when I come across things like this, I either forward it to someone who can use it. Like, for example, the Airbnb. I have never done the Airbnb. I know about it. I interviewed Jeff about it, but I have shared it. And there are 1 or 2 members that I know who have done Airbnb. See, so I don't have to do it all. But when I have the access to the knowledge, I like to pass it on. And that's why even when I may not share things with the church folks, every Thursday, that's part of my personal ministry. I share these things which I know also, because like you said, it's not just this only. It's both this and that. And so what I do is when I discover certain things like this, I just put people on to it, or I say, read this book or something. Even Dr. Pascal, he asked me about setting up his online stuff. He showed me, different things, and I can advise him there. Now, I'm not where he is, but he can benefit from my knowledge. Now, here's the good thing now. If I needed to have the real estate piece, and if I needed to do the Airbnb, can I now contact him? Now I know where to go. See, the same thing. Don Daniel, I can recommend him, and that's where I go when I need that advice. When I need health thing, or if I can't go and do certain health things, hey, praise God. We have Dr. Baca here. We have Dr. Cooper. We have so many different people. That's what we talk about, access. So you may not be able to do certain things, but have access to people who do. Okay. But yeah, I wish I knew some of this stuff earlier too. So there are 7 phases. You must discover, define, design, deliver. That's how online works. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is you diagnose, distinguish yourself, and then redeploy. Now, let me just put them all together here. Take a screenshot if you want to, but this work for being successful too, by the way, folks. You must positively identify your gifts and talents. The Bible says your gift shall make room for you. So if you want to make it in online space, notice people are succeeding at what they are good at. This is what I wish my parents had known what my true talents were at an early age. Even now, I still feel that I have not lived up to my full potential yet, even though I'm doing a lot. But let me tell you something. When you know your gifts and talents, the Bible says your gift shall make room for you. Education should be a supplement for your gift and talent, not you get educated so you can discover your talent. Here's what I mean by that. Look at a musician. Most musicians are already good and they enhance their gift through training and education. So in other words, you generally do best in life based on what you are good at, what your natural born gifts and talents are. Many people don't find jobs and ministries based on what they are good at. So that's why they keep trying. And when you try harder, it's the same thing like trying, you overcome and sin in the flesh. That's why we keep struggling and falling, because it's not natural. But that's why God has to give us his spirit. But my point is, so we give people these tests and discoveries. I've taken so many different tests, figure out what my spiritual gifts are, what talents are. And that's why I also think that the church is failing. Because even with the pastors are human beings too. But pastors are doing jobs that are not their gifts and talents, because they have to take up a lot of slack for jobs that other people should be doing. So instead of focusing on where they're strongest, they're also doing things that they are weak in and not good at, and therefore they are not successful because they're managing multiple things. Notice when you go to an eye specialist, he tells you every single thing about the eyes. He's not telling you about all these other things, though they know that. You go to a general practitioner if you want that. You catch what I'm saying? So that's the kind of stuff that you really want to look at and examine. So even today, at an older age, you should ask yourself, what really comes naturally and easy to me? And you do that thing. And the church should have, that's why everybody should be doing something in church, because if I am not a natural person who likes to, be bubbly and greet people, don't put me at the door. Why? Just because I want to volunteer or there's nobody. No, you put the best person who loves to greet, who is a bubbly person, who just loves to help people. But that person now might not be the best person when you want a project complete, because they just want to have fun for everybody. You see, that's how we work in our nonprofit. I was office manager, special projects manager, because I'm focused, I'm serious. But we had another young lady, she made everybody feel so special and welcome. For me, it was like, listen, we got to get this done, folks. By the book, by the number. We need people like that. But if I were to get her job, I would be miserable. You see? So discovering what your unique that's another reason why I can write books easy. I don't write books on science because I have to spend a whole lot of time figuring out. See, I write books on what I know and what comes naturally. So that's why another secret of writing books fast. Write on what you love, what you know, and what comes easy to you. So when I sit down and begin to, like, even my sermons, I do the same thing. That's why I'm not the typical minister in that sense, because I don't just go and pick up a sermon and do hermeneutics because I know how to, maybe interpret the text or develop a sermon. No, I must preach a sermon that means something to me. And you will notice the difference. I will tell you one of the secrets. When I get up to preach and I preach strictly without notes, when I get up to preach and I speak, in a certain way, you can tell the difference. And I know the difference because that's a sermon that comes from my heart. Why? It's in me. It's what I've been thinking about. You don't have to have all the technical preparation per se, because it oozes out of you. And that's why these topics, I'm more passionate even about these things. You get me up there to speak, for example, about mission work. I can speak about missionary work and mission dynamics for 4 or 5 hours without taking a break. Why? Because it's natural to me. But then you get me up there to go and talk about family life. I might give you 30 minutes, an hour, you know what I mean? But that's not my cup of tea. And that's why we need multiple people preaching the gospel. Next, know who you are called. This is marketing. Know who you are called. That's why you must write books or take a course or do something for the people, like Jeff said. You're not called to everybody. This is also where the church is weak, because the church, this is marketing fundamentals. Jesus did not try to reach every single person when he was on the earth. He had a clientele. So he said, go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel first. Strategy. Then he says, Judea, Samaria, uttermost part of the world. Strategy. Now, we look at that and we might think that it might be racist or it was. No, it was not. It was strategic. You cannot serve everybody. That's why God says all the commission is for everyone, because I am a missionary and I love mission work, but I am not naturally motivated to go to every part of the earth. No. Right? If I have to, yes. But no one has to motivate me, inspire me to go to Latin America or Africa. Those are where I feel called to, because I can relate to those people most naturally. But you tell me I have to go to, let's say, and again, I hope you are listening to me with spiritual ears now, okay? So I'm just sharing this point. If I have to go to China to do a mission work, not that I don't like Chinese people. No, I would rather give to that project, but not me go there. Why? Because I don't feel the urge the same way. See what I'm saying? So you know your niche and your clients. So I support missions and projects that do those other things that I'm not called to do. See, that's focusing. Apple attracts certain clients, and so the church must also do the same thing. My book, for example, is for professionals, entrepreneurs, ministry. It's not for everybody. And that's why I have to always say that every Thursday, because some people are like, oh, Pastor, you talk about these things. Yes, I do. That's who I am. You can't take it away from me. I told you my background, I come from a background in management, business, and leadership. That's my background. I can't change that just because I'm a pastor, and you cannot confine me to preach just only spiritual things. To me, I don't think of compartmentalization. I see life as one. Because I buy books on other things. I don't buy books. My bookshelf is not only Christian books or pastor's book. No, my bookshelf is also divided. This shelf down here is all health books. The middle one there, that's the pastor's books. Up there, that's business and finance books. And then I have some on relationships. I have to learn all these things. I'm not a specialist on that. But we focus. So the church, I don't see the church doing that. When I was in nonprofit, it's the same way. We carved out our niche. We said Southern Africa, that's where we feel called. We were able to impact that part of the world, and we went to the majority of all Southern African countries. Then when we completed that is when we begin to move to the East and the West Africa. You have to be called somewhere. And the church, I think, should pick a community to say, we are going to reach that particular community and focus only on that community, or 1 or 2 or 3 communities. Why? Because you can transform a community and a group of people. Sometimes people, you're not consistent. See, study marketing, and you will see that they do that. So when you write a book, okay, this book is for that. Let me show you another one. Okay, I have a book on prayer. The book on prayer is for people who want to pray. That's a different clientele. It's not for people like this. So that's how you know who you should minister to and who you should do your thing for. Insurance, for example. Insurance is for a certain different people. Some people get the $1 million package, for example. Most people don't have the $1 million package because it's not for them. So you will want to develop your product and so forth for that person. So if you say you're going to do braids, for example, right? Most people up on here don't wear braids. So your customers and clients must be people who buy braids. So if you go and say, God bless my business or my side gig or my hustle, and you are selling braids to people, they don't use braids, you can't complain to God that you're not successful and nobody want to buy your stuff, buy your book, buy your course, whatever. It is not for those people. See that? Barbara says, yes, it's true. I can tell the difference. Yes, when it's from your heart. And sometimes that's why I also thank God for Far and All Nations. Why? Because I like the different people preaching. You know why, Barbara? Because honestly, if I had to preach every single Sabbath, I would be miserable. You know why? Because it means I would preach some messages, but they were not really in my heart. Because that's what many pastors do. You know, because they have to bring a word now. It's nothing wrong. But for me, I can't do that. I don't like doing that personally. I don't like to just create a sermon just for the fact that, hey, it's, I have to come with a message this week. I need to feel the message. It must be something that my people are dealing with, I'm dealing with, something that jumps out to me. I just feel that it's different, And so, yeah, I don't want to just be a professional. So, and that's why, too, I also thank you all, by the way, my members who are still on here. Thank you all for working with me and tolerating me in that aspect, because I know my preaching is not for everyone either. You know what I mean? But you give me the liberty to just be me, and that's helpful. Trust me on that. So package your stuff for the market. So in other words, your stuff can be a book. Here's how if I can monetize your skills for you all, I would do it. Like writing a book is simple, right? For example, if you've done any kind of writing, for those of you who are on here academic, look, like I said, I turned my whole entire master's project I have a dissertation there. I took all the chapters and turned them into books and courses as well. This already created. So you take out the academic jargon and you make it readable. This book is a course. This book is a coaching program. This book is all of that. Then I took this book. This book is called Win Now. This is a book I also wrote. This was an assignment that I did for a class, right? You get good grades. You say, hey, if I got good grades, it's probably worth something. It's not doing me any good. I paid the school so much money. So I turned that assignment into a book. Prayers That Move Heaven. That was a course that I also took. It was a paper, an assignment that I had to do on prayer. And I ended up writing 27 pages. And then I said, well, let me develop it more and turn it into a full book. And now it's an online course. This is an audio book. That's what we're talking about here in the online world. Now I put it up online, and guess what? I don't have to keep repeating it. Okay? And that's kind of what it is. Here's a map of how it will look if you do it like the professionals. Now, all of us not going to do it, but if you can write 1, write 2, write 3, make a course, record a course, go look at some of my courses and see how simple they are, right? And here's something important. Ellen White has a whole lot of books, doesn't she? And do you know, until Jesus comes, as long as the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Ellen White's books will be there. Now, I know she gives most of her royalty away, but here's the thing. Even in her will, she says a portion of all of her royalties goes to her family. That's residual income. That's like real estate. So that's why I'm writing and trying to get a lot. That's why, I don't waste my time. Every moment I got, I utilize it, because that's how I'm planning to build wealth for my family and leave knowledge for my children that is not taught in school. Because my books now will be just like that. When I'm gone, somebody can still buy these books and courses. So that's why I try to churn out a lot of them. Why? Because the more books you have is the more little residual income you can have. And the courses work the same way. As long as they're online, somebody can buy them. You might not make a lot this month, but next month you might make a whole lot. That's really how the whole thing goes, okay? And that's the system there that we use. Voila. So you turn your book from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and so forth and whatnot. That's really it. So this is an example. My book here becomes a course. People can get coaching. Then I recommend other products, and they get other people's program as well. And sometimes people say, hey, can you review my stuff for me? Can you write a review? And then they end up paying me. And I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that. So, like one person is contacting me to do Amazon reviews. I write Amazon reviews. Can you imagine that? And I get free products for it. Or I get paid for it. But mostly I just take free products, right? How is that? Hey, I just started reviewing other people's product for free. And then other people start seeing that you're doing good reviews, and they say, can you review my stuff? No problem. Send me the product. Okay? So that's an example. So figure out how to use online, and God can be able to bless you that way as well. That's all, folks. We've shared a lot of different things. I'm going to email you the link to that. And for those of you are my church members, anything that I have access to, folks, that I've created, a book, a course, you need it, it's yours. You already support God's cause and church. So, don't feel like, if you don't have the money, it's not a problem. We give you access because you are God's people, and you are also supporting God's church. So I know you. So feel free. Pick my brain sometimes. And thank you for your time. That's all that I have. May God richly bless you. Go out there, apply something, use what we've taught, and recommend what we should do next. Generally, we're getting into, I think relationships should be our next series, but that will probably be after July, though, because we trying to figure out I'm going to focus on the church stuff to get our streaming really going good, but we need another series. So whatever other series you think we should do, recommend it. Thank you, Martha. God bless you. I really appreciate all your support and you being here as well. Everyone who is on here is going to cut off. So I'll just let it cut off here. Melissa, Leonion still, Del Rose, David, thank all of you. Please go out there and do something. Anything we can do to help you all out, we are here to help you. And But I need your feedback. Give me a subject. What should we talk about next? Tell us what can we bring so that we can help you all. Pastor Carol, God bless you. By the way, she has a wonderful book as well, Covenant Love, Covenant Relationship, something along those lines. Go get Pastor Carol's book on Amazon. Okay? Josephine, thank you. God bless you. And good night, everybody.